Chapter 314. The news that the new supervisor of Dark Thunder Manor had invited the 9 great clans to a banquet at Drunken Fragrance Brothel, but no one showed up spread quickly. The entire Misty Cheese City was abuzz with the news. At night, in the Jiang residence, Jiang Axian pushed open the door to Jiang Hao's study and said cheerfully, "Father, how is it? I told you that Lu Xingji doesn't know his place." None of the 9 great clans showed up. Ha ha ha, his reputation as a supervisor has been completely destroyed. Who knew that Jiang Hao didn't look happy at all? Jiang Axian's laughter froze. "Father, aren't you happy?" Jiang Hao's eyes narrowed. "Do you know why we didn't show up?" "Ah." Jiang Axian was slightly taken aback. "Isn't it to make him lose face and let him know that the 9 great clans aren't to be trifled with? In the future, we can just symbolically hand over a little tribute." Jiang Hao said, "You wish. Lu Xingji can take the position of a supervisor at such a young age. Do you think he's that simple? Let's not talk about other things first. Those Dark Thunder guards won't listen to him if he can become a supervisor with just a Spirit Pulse realm cultivation. But from what I know, the Dark Thunder Manor is clearly under his rule now. This means that he either has a strong background or has many tricks up his sleeve. We didn't show up this time because we wanted to see his reaction. Do you know what he did in the restaurant?" Jiang Axian said, "What else can he do? He must have flipped the table in anger." If it were you, you would definitely do something like that." Jiang Hao reprimanded him. Lu Xingji knew that no one was going to show up, but he actually ate and drank in the restaurant. He didn't seem angry at all. This means that he had already expected such a scene. It also shows that he's very scheming. Jiang Axian also stopped joking. Ling Shiqi's reaction was indeed beyond his expectations. Jiang Hao sighed softly. "Sigh, this Lu Xingji isn't easy to deal with. Xian, don't go out casually during this period of time." "But father, enough. Go back." After Jiang Axian left, Jiang Hao fell into deep thought again. Not only the Jiang family, but the masters and higher-ups of the 9 great families of Mist City were also aware of today's situation. They were all secretly guessing Ling Shiqi's intentions. The Wang clan was a small clan ranked at the bottom of the 9 great clans. The head of the Wang clan, Wang Qingze, was only at the 5th level of the spiritual pulse realm. In the 9 super clans, they could only drink the leftovers of others. At this moment, Wang Qingze was feeling sorry for himself. Originally, he didn't want to provoke the Dark Thunder Guards, but it was the Du family and the Jiang family who jointly led the reduction of their offerings. Furthermore, this matter had already tied the 9 super clans together. Although he was extremely unwilling, he had no choice but to agree. Today was the new supervisor's banquet, so he couldn't go even if he wanted to. At this moment, Wang Qingze was pacing back and forth in his room. He still couldn't feel at ease. His Wang clan wasn't as powerful as the Du clan and the Jiang clan, nor did he have their heritage. What if the Dark Thunder Guards caused trouble for the Wang family? What should he do? However, just when he was on tenterhooks, he suddenly heard a voice. It sounded like the sound of a long sword being unsheathed. But before he could react, he lost consciousness forever. Behind him, a person in demonic armor had appeared out of nowhere. He was holding a spirit sword with a green gem embedded in his hand. The blade of the spirit sword was also covered with demonic patterns. This person was naturally Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi used Byakugan and Hand of Earth to easily sneak into Wang Qingze's room and found that Wang Qingze was still in a daze. However, Ling Shiqi still didn't dare to underestimate the enemy. He immediately activated the demonic beast blood pattern armor and demonic patterns and killed Wang Qingze with one strike. Then, he picked up Wang Qingze's mustard seed bag, but left quietly without dealing with his corpse. It wasn't until early the next morning that the servant in charge of serving Wang Qingze was shocked to find that his master had been assassinated in his own room. The entire Wang clan was in an uproar. Soon, the elders and stewards of the Wang clan all rushed over in panic. When they saw Wang Qingze's cold body, they all felt dizzy. Wang Qingze was not only their patriarch, but also the strongest person in the Wang clan. Other than Wang Qingze, there was only one elder in the initial stage of the Spirit Pulse realm. However, this elder was close to 100 years old. His blood had long declined and was unable to support the Wang clan. In other words, the pillar of the Wang clan had fallen. What was even more frightening was that Wang Qingze actually died silently just like that. Several elders of the Wang clan examined Wang Qingze's death and could see that he had been killed with one strike. Who could kill a Spirit Pulse middle stage spirit cultivator without batting an eyelid? Unless it was a Spirit Aperture realm expert. However, their Wang clan was only a small clan. How could they be targeted by a Spirit Aperture realm expert? The only Spirit Pulse realm elder in the Wang clan asked, "Did the patriarch offend anyone powerful?" The other elders of the Wang clan all revealed doubtful expressions and shook their heads. However, one of them suddenly said, "Elder, you have been recuperating these days. There is something that you might not know. A few days ago, the Du clan and the Jiang clan took the lead and asked the 9 great clans to reduce the tribute to the Dark Thunder Guards. Do you think it has something to do with this?" "Crazy." The elder was immediately enraged. "Are you crazy? You even dare to offend the Dark Thunder Guards? Elder, you might not know, but the Dark Thunder Guard's supervisor is no longer Sha Yu. It is a Spirit Pulse Realm middle stage cultivator called Lu Xingji. Spirit Pulse Realm middle stage." The elder was in disbelief. That's right. That Lu Xingji even hosted a banquet at the Intoxicated Fragrance Pavilion yesterday. He wanted to invite the 9 great clans over for a chat, but no one went. He really has no dignity as a supervisor. What did you say? Stupid, really stupid. The clan elder connected the two things together and said, "We put him in such a difficult position, and he just tolerated it. No matter what, he is still a supervisor, someone with real power. His cultivation isn't high, but it also means that his background isn't weak. Perhaps the assassination of the patriarch was done by him. But there is no Spirit Aperture realm expert in the entire Dark Thunder Manor." Just as they were in a state of panic, another person hurriedly ran in from outside. He was holding an envelope in his hand and was panting as he yelled, Brother, I'm sorry. Elder, it's not good. The Dark Thunder Guards are here to deliver a letter." "What? Deliver a letter?" Everyone was shocked. They were just guessing whether the Patriarch's death was related to the Dark Thunder Guards. Now they had sent a letter. The elder opened the envelope and saw that it was an invitation card. It invited the 9 great clans to gather at the Intoxicated Fragrance Pavilion at noon. Chapter 315. The clan elder's hand trembled and the letter fell to the ground. Everyone saw the contents of the letter and a shadow fell over the entire Wang clan. The news of the Wang clan head Wang Qingze being killed quickly spread. Strangely, the news wasn't spread by the Wang clan. Instead, the entire street was talking about it early in the morning. This matter naturally fell into the ears of the other 8 clans. Yesterday, they humiliated the Leng Shiqi and Wang Qingze died at night. If someone said there was no connection between the two, they wouldn't believe it. But they couldn't figure it out. There were no Spirit Aperture realm experts in the Dark Thunder House. Then who could assassinate Wang Qingze silently? Jiang clan. Jiang Hao and Jiang Xian were eating breakfast when they received the news. Jiang Hao immediately lost his appetite. Jiang Xian said, "Wang Qingze might have offended someone he shouldn't have. So what if he's dead? We can still take some of the Wang clan's business." Jiang Hao slammed the table and said angrily, short-sighted. Can't you see that this has something to do with the Dark Thunder Guards and Lu Xingji? Jiang Axian muttered, what could it have to do with you? Jiang Axian wanted to teach him a lesson. At this time, a servant ran over with a letter. Master, young master, this is the letter from the Dark Thunder Guards. Jiang Hao's heart tightened. He opened the letter. The contents were exactly the same as the one from the day before. He muttered, it's him. It must be him. He's starting to fight back. Go, invite the Du clan head over. Wait, I'll go personally. Jiang Hao rushed to the Du clan as fast as he could and met with the Du clan head, Du Hechang. Jiang Hao said anxiously, Brother Du, you also received the Dark Thunder Guard's invitation. Du Hechang nodded. His expression was relatively calm. Brother Jiang, don't be impatient. I still say the same thing. We can't go. Once we go, it means we're giving in. It's not good for us. But Wang Qing's death is too strange. Yesterday Lu Xingji set up a banquet and Wang Qingze died at night. Right after he died, the Dark Thunder Guard sent an invitation. Lu Xingji is clearly telling us that Wang Qingze was killed by him. But Du Hechang said indifferently, so what? Lu Xingji has some ability to be able to kill Wang Qingze, but the Wang family is only a small family after all. It didn't matter whether he was there or not. The more Lu Xingji acted like this, the more it proved that he was anxious. The more anxious he is, the less anxious we can be. Jiang Hao said, even so, I'm still a little worried. Brother Jiang worries too much. As long as Dark Thunder Manor doesn't have any Spirit Aperture Realm experts, they won't be able to touch us. If it really is a life and death struggle, humph, not only will he lose his position as supervisor, he might even lose his life. Du Hechang's face revealed a fierce expression, and Jiang Hao's heart calmed down a little, and he silently agreed. By noon, only Ling Shiqi, Chao Qian, and the other three were left in the Drunken Fragrance Inn. Ling Shiqi was still leisurely sipping his tea, while the other three were still in a daze. Of course they knew about Wang Qing's assassination, and they all guessed that it was Ling Shiqi's doing, but they couldn't figure out how Ling Shiqi did it. Especially Qiu Qing and Chao Qian, although they saw Ling Shiqi injure Pang Yuan in 2 moves and knew he was strong. But Wang Qingze was different. He was in the Wang family's courtyard. To kill Wang Qingze without anyone noticing was too difficult. Even a late-stage Spirit Pulse Realm cultivator might not be able to do it. What time is it? Ling Shiqi put down his teacup and asked. Chao Qian said, Sir, it's already past noon. Oh, then let's eat. Chao Qian. He had a feeling that something was going to happen again tonight. Nate, Zhong family. The Zhong family was considered a middle-tier family among the 9 great families, and the Zhong family's patriarch, Zhong Qing, was a very interesting person. To put it nicely, he was cautious, but to put it bluntly, he was as timid as a mouse. His cultivation was also at the middle stage of the Spirit Pulse realm, and the reason why he was able to sit on the patriarch's seat was because of his eyes that were extremely sensitive to business opportunities. Tonight, Zhong Cheng's study was filled with people inside and outside. Outside, there were dozens of pure spirit realm cultivators constantly patrolling, and in every corner of the study, there were also spirit transformation realm guards. Zhong Cheng was afraid. He was afraid of walking on Wang Qing's path of retreat. Zhong Cheng saw that there were so many people here, and his heart calmed down a little. He was about to deal with the matter at hand, but a voice suddenly sounded in his ear. Patriarch Zhong really does forget to eat and sleep for the family. Zhong Cheng's body suddenly stiffened, and a chill ran down his spine. He stiffly turned his head and saw a strong young man sitting on the chair beside him. And that young man was wearing the Dark Thunder Guard's clothes. He was Lu Xingji. Zhong Cheng was startled, but he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Were the guards in the room blind? He quickly glanced around and found that the guards were all standing still with their eyes wide open, as if they were stunned. They were already immersed in the beautiful world of flowers. Zhongqing couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He knew that since the other party could suddenly appear in front of him and control more than a dozen spirit transformation realm cultivators in an instant, if he dared to call for help, he would have already lost his life before the people outside arrived. His heart couldn't help but panic, but he was still a spirit pulse realm cultivator and the head of a family. He quickly calmed himself down and said, "So it's the supervisor envoy that has graced us with his presence. Excuse me for not going out to meet you." Ling Shiqi sat on the chair and habitually knocked on the armrest and said, "Then why don't you guess what I'm here for?" Zhong Cheng's face was instantly covered in cold sweat. He squeezed out a smile and said, "I don't dare to guess Lord Lu's intentions." Ling Shiqi took out a wooden box from his mustard seed bag and said, "Actually, I'm here to give Patriarch Zhong a gift." Zhongqing immediately laughed dryly and said, "Lord Lu is joking. Still giving a gift?" The other party couldn't wait to kill him. Ling Shiqi shook his head and said, "This envoy never jokes. Patriarch Zhong might as well open it and take a look." Zhongqing actually refused in his heart because he could already smell the pungent smell of blood from the box. But he still opened the wooden box, but when he saw what was inside, he immediately covered his mouth. Inside was a head. It was the head of the Lu family's patriarch. Although Zhongqing was already mentally prepared, he was still scared out of his wits. Ling Shiqi stood up and said, "Tomorrow, this envoy will hold a banquet at the Drunken Fragrance House. I hope Patriarch Zhong will give me face." Zhongqing nodded frantically and said, "I'll definitely be there, I'll definitely be there." Chapter 316. Today was the third time Ling Shiqi had held a banquet at the Drunken Fragrance Inn. After 2 days of fermenting, almost everyone knew about this matter. The Wang and Lu family heads had died one after another. If it was only one, everyone would still think it was a coincidence. But both family heads had died, this could not be a coincidence. Hearing that the new Dark Thunder Guard supervisor was going to hold a banquet today, many people rushed over with their own thoughts. At this time, there were many people gathered around the Drunken Fragrance Inn to watch the show. They were all waiting to see if anyone from the 9 great families would come today. Of course, the spies of the various families were also mixed in. It was almost noon. A withered old man accompanied by 2 spirit cultivators of the spirit transformation realm walked into the Drunken Fragrance Inn. Seeing this scene, everyone began to mutter. "Who is that old man? He looks unfamiliar. Is he from the 9 great families? I recognize him. He is an old man from the previous generation of the Wang family. He should be about 100 years old now. TSK, he is so old and he still has to worry about the Wang family. Sigh. That means that the Wang clan is here. This can be considered a start. I wonder how many clans will come today. Humph, 2 family heads have died in 2 days. If the rest don't want to die, they have to come. That may not be so. The Du and Jiang families may not come." At this time, Zhongqing appeared with a group of guards. The Lu family people followed closely behind. 3 of the 9 great families had already come. This news quickly spread out, and those families who were still hesitating immediately brought their people over, no longer caring about the Du family and the Jiang family. At this time, Jiang Hao and Du Hechang were playing chess. However, when they found out that other than their 2 families, the other 7 families had all gone to the Drunken Fragrance Inn, Du Hechang smashed the chessboard on the spot. Traitors. A group of traitors. A group of idiots. Jiang Hao's face was also very ugly. The other 7 families had all gone. This meant that they were completely separated from them. In this way, they could be defeated one by one. He said, "Brother Du, let's think about what we should do. If the Ling Shichi draws those 7 families to their side, our situation will be very bad. Let me think. On the other side, in a private room of the Drunken Fragrance Pavilion, Chiu Cheng was smiling as he accompanied the 7 patriarchs. However, the expressions of the 7 people were not as relaxed. The patriarchs of the Wang clan and the Lu clan had both died an unnatural death. In their opinion, they should have died at the hands of this supervisor before them. How could they possibly smile at him? Zhong Qing was scared. As for the others, they were also scared. They were all afraid that they would follow in Wang Qing's footsteps. More importantly, they were here, but Ling Shichi was not. After waiting for a while, the Du family and the Jiang family still didn't come. This was expected by the patriarchs, but Ling Shichi still didn't show up. However, the family heads didn't ask much and continued to wait patiently. Because they knew that they had stood Ling Shichi up twice before. Now that the situation had reversed, it was normal for the other party to put on airs. In fact, Ling Shichi really wasn't at the Drunken Fragrance Pavilion. At this time, he was standing at the door of the Jiang residence. Not only him, but Xiao Qian and Pang Yuan were also standing beside him. Behind him were 80 Dark Thunder guards. As for the 2 guards in front of the Jiang residence, they were already beheaded. Ling Shichi called out a person's name, Wei Guan. Wei Guan was the only person who wasn't a Dark Thunder guard but came with him. Wei Guan bowed and said, "Sir, subordinate is here. Kick the door open." Wei Guan trembled with excitement. He took a deep breath and said, "Subordinate obeys." He walked to the gilded door of the Jiang residence and recalled the scene of him being kicked away by Jiang Xan a few days ago. He focused all his spiritual power on his leg, and then he suddenly kicked out and sent half the door flying. Such a big commotion immediately attracted many people from the Jiang residence. Jiang Xan and a few of the Jiang residence's higher-ups walked over together. When they saw a group of Dark Thunder guards standing in front of the door with a murderous aura, their hearts suddenly thumped. Jiang Xan saw that it was Wei Guan who kicked open the door of their residence and immediately became furious. He was about to rush up and teach him a lesson when he was pulled back by someone beside him. "Third uncle, don't stop me. If I don't kill this servant today, my surname is not Jiang." The one who pulled him back was Jiang Hao's younger brother, Jiang Wei. He was also one of the higher-ups of the Jiang residence and had the cultivation of the middle stage of the Spirit Pulse realm. "Nonsense!" Jiang Wei shouted and pushed him to the back. He immediately ordered the person beside him to go out the back door to inform Jiang Hao. He walked to the door with a smile and cupped his hands. "This one is Jiang Wei. This one must be the supervisor of the Dark Thunder residence, Lord Lu. It's an honor to meet you." Jiang Wei lowered his attitude to the lowest. After all, their family head Jiang Hao was not in the residence and the Dark Thunder guards were obviously coming. What he needed to do was to delay. Delay until Jiang Hao returned. But Ling Shichi's attitude was unusually tough. "Who do you think you are? Let Jiang Hao talk to me." Jiang Wei's face instantly turned red. He suppressed the anger in his heart. The family head is in seclusion. It is the same if Lord Lu has something to say to me. Ling Shichi said coldly, "Is that so? I suspect that your Jiang residence is harboring spies. I have come to investigate." Harboring spies. Jiang Wei was slightly taken aback. He immediately understood that Ling Shichi was accusing them. He said, "Lord Lu, our Jiang residence does not dare to accept such a serious accusation. The Jiang residence has always been law-abiding. How can we be harboring spies? If I say you are harboring spies, then you are harboring spies. Dark Thunder guards, listen up. The Jiang residents colluded with the enemy country and betrayed the country for glory. This crime is not punishable by death. Kill without mercy. Jiang Wei's expression finally changed. He shouted, Lu Xingji, you are slandering us. What right do you have to attack us without any evidence? Unexpectedly, Ling Shiqi waved his hand. Behind him, Qiao Qian, Peng Yuan, and all the Dark Thunder Guards swarmed forward and killed their way into the Jiang residence. Ling Shiqi then pointed out a finger, condensing extremely compressed blood radiance and lightning radiance between his fingers. Immediately, a blood-colored finger shot out like a clap of thunder. A thick bloody aura spread in all directions, and the lightning was violent. It headed straight for Jiang Wei's heart. Jiang Wei did not think that Ling Shiqi would dare to attack them in broad daylight. In a hurry, he pulled out a spirit sword. His sword style was quite profound and looked extraordinary. However, before it could fully form, it was shattered by the thunder-like bloody finger and directly pierced through his chest. This was the thunder blood finger that Ling Shiqi had fused with the level 3 spiritual technique, the thunder finger, that Wu Xiang had given him during his half a month of seclusion. This was the first time that Ling Shiqi had fused a level 3 spiritual technique with a level 4 spiritual technique. This finger combined the extremely strong penetrating power of the blood finger and the explosive power of the thunder finger. With the two combined, the power of the thunder blood finger was second only to the dazzling flurry of flowers and the ephemeral bloom. If Jiang Wei did not notice, it was enough to kill him instantly. Jiang Wei looked at his empty chest. Even now, he still could not believe that he had died like this. At the moment of his death, he seemed to understand why the heads of the Wang and Lu clans had died so quietly. Ling Shiqi walked to his side and whispered, Don't worry, your Jiang residents will be reunited in good order in hell. His heart sank as he pulled the man over and asked, What's going on? Tell me. Ma, Patriarch. Lu Xingji is here with the Dark Thunder Guards. What? Jiang Hao could not believe his own ears. Wasn't Lu Xingji at Zui Xiang Lu with the 7 family heads? How did he come to the Jiangfu? I don't know, but he doesn't look like he's here with good intentions. Patriarch, you'd better go back quickly. Jiang Hao was about to leave when Du Hechang said, Brother Jiang, please wait. I'll go with you. With us around, that Lu Xingji won't be able to stir up any trouble. Jiang Hao cupped his hands and said, Thank you for your help, Brother Du. He knew that the Dark Thunder Guards were very strong. If it was just his family alone, he would not have much confidence. But with the Du family, it was different. In the Jiangfu, the Dark Thunder Guards blatantly slaughtered the Jiang family in broad daylight. Such a big movement naturally attracted the attention of many people. At this time, hundreds of people had gathered outside the Jiangfu's main gate to watch. But they all consciously stood more than 100 feet away from the gate, not daring to cross the line. What crime did the Jiang family commit to provoke the Dark Thunder Guards to be mobilized? From the looks of it, they want to exterminate the family. I heard that the Jiang family is harboring spies and is up to no good. Really? Who knows? But where did Jiang Hao go? If he's here, the Dark Thunder Guards might not dare to make a move. At this time, Jiang Hao and Du Hechang had rushed over in a hurry. Before they got close to the Jiangfu, they could hear the screams coming from inside. Jiang Hao's face suddenly changed. He took a step forward and rushed out, breaking through the crowd and coming to the Jiangfu's main gate. However, at this moment, he was stunned. He saw the Dark Thunder Guards wantonly slaughtering the Jiang family. He saw his third brother Jiang Wei lying in a pool of blood. He saw the headless body of his son Jiang Xian. Moreover, he saw the Jiang family members dying at every moment. No! Jiang Hao roared to the sky. His voice was heart-wrenching and filled with boundless hatred. His gaze locked onto the person in the field who was wearing the inspector's uniform. That was Ling Shiqi. When Ling Shiqi saw Jiang Hao, he chuckled and said, "You're finally here." Jiang Hao gritted his teeth and shouted, "Lu Can Shi." Ling Shiqi could not be bothered to waste words with him. He clenched his hands and forced out 10 drops of essence blood from his fingertips, forming 10 blood veins. Immediately, demonic patterns appeared on his body. The blood veins merged with the demonic patterns and finally formed 4 blood veins. Ling Shiqi's presence suddenly rose to the late stage of the spirit pulse realm. Although Jiang Hao was furious, he did not lose his mind. He took out a heavy sword. His sword style seemed to be of the same origin as Jiang Wei's. Both were abnormally complex, but he had a heavier presence than Jiang Wei. Ling Shiqi unsheathed his inky jade sword. The sword came out of the ink river. His body was like a gust of wind, instantly bringing with it a majestic sword energy. Jiang Hao swung his sword. It was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. When the two collided, there was an ear-piercing sound. An invisible wave of air spread out, overturning the tiles in a radius of more than 100 feet. Jiang Hao retreated a few steps, but Ling Shiqi did not move at all. Jiang Hao was shocked. His cultivation was clearly higher than the other, but his power was far from the others. Ling Shiqi was not going to let this go. He punched, and in an instant, a deep lion roar sounded. Then a Lion King's shadow leapt out and charged at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao's heavy sword exploded with yellow light, but before he could attack, the Lion King's shadow was near him. He immediately felt a terrifyingly powerful fist power come. Even more terrifying was that this explosive fist power was like an endless wave. Jiang Hao lasted less than 2 breaths before his heavy sword cracked. Then the 2 fist powers, one bright and one dark, came at him at the same time. Jiang Hao couldn't help but have a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. This was Ling Shiqi replacing the tiger roaring fist of the tiger walking wave fist with the violent lion rage forest fist. Now, it could be called the Lion King wave breaking fist. At the same time, dots of 5-colored light flashed across Ling Shiqi's eyes. Jiang Hao was unsettled and was dazed for a moment. Jiang Hao quickly woke up, but to his horror, Ling Shiqi's figure disappeared. He hurriedly turned around, only to see a very ordinary blade slash across. However, this seemingly ordinary blade slash easily shattered his heavy sword, and at the same time, chopped off his head. Chapter 318. Ling Shiqi killed Jiang Wei, who was in the middle stage of the Spirit Pulse realm, with one finger, and killed Jiang Hao, who was in the late stage of the Spirit Pulse realm, in 3 moves. Such combat power had completely shocked everyone. Not only those who were watching the show, but also the head of the Du family, Du Hechang. At this moment, Du Hechang's face was gloomy as he watched everything that was happening in the Jiangfu. Originally, he was here to hold the line for Jiang Hao, but Jiang Hao was 1 step ahead. When Du Hechang arrived at the main gate of the Jiangfu, Jiang Hao was already decapitated. Du Hechang's heart was in turmoil. He had only taken a few steps, and the head of the Jiang family, Jiang Hao, who was in the late stage of the Spirit Pulse realm, was already killed. Was this new supervisor really only in the Spirit Pulse realm? At this moment, he also met Ling Shiqi's gaze. Du Hechang finally understood why a person in the middle stage of the Spirit Pulse realm could hold the position of supervisor. It was not because the Dark Thunder Guards had no one, nor was it because the Dark Thunder Guards were blind. It was because this supervisor had enough strength. Du Hechang was already beginning to regret. He had been wrong from the beginning. The most serious mistake he made was to underestimate Ling Shiqi's strength and Ling Shiqi's methods. Ling Shiqi had used short-lived night blooming Sirius. At this moment, he only had 20 to 30% of his strength left. He was definitely no match for Du Hechang. However, His aura did not diminish as he said coldly, "Head of the Du family, the Jiang family secretly harbored a criminal and colluded with the enemy to betray the country. I think the Du family should not have any connection with the Jiang family." Du Hechang's face instantly turned green and white. He knew that Ling Shiqi's words were pure nonsense. He could also see that Ling Shiqi was currently very weak. However, he could not make a move. After all, he was only the head of a family in Lanqi City. If he dared to make a move on the supervisor of the Dark Thunder Guards, his Du family would not be far from being exterminated. Thus, Du Hechang cupped his fists and said, "The Jiang family actually did such an outrageous thing. They really deserve it. I am just passing by, Lord Liu, please go ahead." After saying that, he retreated far away. Ling Shiqi secretly smiled. Du Hechang's appearance here was indeed unexpected, but the result was the same whether he came or not. In just a short moment, all the spirit cultivators in the Jiang Manor had been slaughtered. Qiao Qian and some of the Dark Thunder Guards walked over with dozens of ordinary people. These people were the Jiang Fu's family members and servants. Qiao Qian's face was covered in blood as he asked, "My lord, how should we deal with these people?" Ling Shiqi looked at him coldly and said, "I'll leave these people to you." Qiao Qian's heart tightened when he heard this, but he knew that this was a test from Ling Shiqi. However, Qiao Qian had never experienced this before. Looking at the helpless commoners, he began to struggle internally. At this moment, Peng Yuan walked over and said, "Are you waiting for the descendants of the Jiang family to seek revenge on you 20 years later?" Qiao Qian clenched his fists. He already knew what he had to do. His blood-stained face revealed a savage expression. He shouted sternly, "Kill!" Ling Shiqi turned his back to the crowd and said indifferently, "Quickly plunder all the Jiang family's wealth. We still have guests to receive." Not long after, the Dark Thunder Guards carried 20 to 30 large boxes out of the Jiang Manor, each of them with bloodstains on their bodies. The people outside hurriedly made way for a very wide path. They waited until the Dark Thunder Guards disappeared before they reached the entrance of the Jiang Manor. However, what they saw was a scene of hell on earth. Ling Shiqi led the Dark Thunder Guards to a street corner and split into two groups. Most of the Dark Thunder Guards returned to the Dark Thunder Manor with the Jiang family's resources. The other group, the assassins from the Blood Clothing Pavilion, followed Ling Shiqi to the Drunken Fragrance House. At this time, there were many people gathered around the Drunken Fragrance House. Only then did they see Ling Shiqi and the others walking over. However, they also saw the bloodstains on these people's bodies, as well as the smell of blood emitting from their bodies. Especially Qiao Qian and Pang Yuan. Each of them was holding a bloody head in their hands. The crowd immediately recognized that it was the head of the Jiang family, Jiang Hao, and his brother, Jiang Wei. The crowd suddenly exploded. However, they were all shocked by Ling Shiqi's group and covered their mouths, not daring to speak loudly. When they walked into the Drunken Fragrance House, there was finally an uproar outside. I didn't see wrong, right? That's the head of the Jiang family, Jiang Hao. That's right, an expert in the late stage of the Spirit Pulse realm died just like that. What happened to the Jiang family? We thought the main event was here, but it's actually over at the Jiang family's side. Let's go to the Jiang family and take a look. In the private room of the Drunken Fragrance House, the 7 family heads were already a little impatient from waiting. It was reasonable for the Invigilator to leave them hanging for a while, but almost an hour had passed, and Ling Shiqi still had not appeared. This caused quite a few people to be dissatisfied. However, there were also people who were calm and composed, such as Zhong Qing and the Wang family's elders. At this moment, the Wan family head, Wan Xing, stood up and said, "Brother Qiu, when will the Lord Invigilator arrive?" Qiu Qing did not give Wan Xing any face. He said coldly, "The Lord Invigilator is busy with many affairs every day. One family head should wait a while. There's no rush, no rush. Wan Xing's temper wasn't very good to begin with. Now that Qiu Qing didn't give him any face, Wan Xing's face fell. Brother Qiu, to put it bluntly, my Wan clan is only second to the Jiang clan and the Du clan. The reason I came today is to give face to the Lord Invigilator, but you, a Dark Lightning envoy, do not have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me. Qiu Qing smiled lightly and said, "What, is the Wan family head tired of waiting? You can leave at any time, and I will not stop you. It's just that, whether or not the Wan family head can see the sun tomorrow is another matter." You! Wan Xing was furious, but he did not act out. The reason he came to the drunken fragrance house was because he was afraid that he would die inexplicably like Wang Qingze. Oh, it's quite lively here. At this moment, a voice transmitted over. Following that, Ling Shiqi appeared with Qiao Qian and Pang Yuan. Qiu Qing immediately bowed and said, "This lowly subordinate pays respect to your excellency." When the others saw the bloodstains and blood qi on the Ling Shiqi trio, they all frowned and their hearts tightened. Qiu Qing handed over a handkerchief when he saw this. Ling Shiqi picked up the handkerchief and wiped the bloodstains on his hands. He said, "This envoy came late and made all the family heads wait for a long time. Truly sinful. But the reason why this envoy was late was to prepare some small gifts for everyone." Qiao Qian and Pang Yuan understood and casually threw the heads hidden behind them onto the table. Only to see two bloody heads roll several times on the table. The entire table was already stained with blood. The 7 family heads looked over. Those 2 heads that died with remaining grievances were actually Jiang Hao and Jiang Wei's heads. The 7 people were all horrified. Chapter 319. When the family heads saw Jiang Hao and Jiang Wei's heads rolling on the table, they were all shocked. Jiang Hao and Jiang Wei's heads were thrown here. What did this mean? When they thought of the blood on Ling Shiqi and the others, they immediately thought of a possibility. The Jiang family had been destroyed. But they didn't dare to believe it. That was the Jiang family that had been rooted in Lan Qi City for more than 20 years. Among them, there was Jiang Hao, a spirit cultivator in the late stage of the spirit pulse realm. How could they be destroyed just like that? But these 2 heads were right in front of them. They had to believe it even if they didn't want to. However, after accepting this fact, they became even more fearful. Because they finally knew why Ling Shiqi had only appeared now. They also knew why Ling Shiqi did this. That was to intimidate them. They knew that the Dark Thunder Guards could even destroy the Jiang family, so their small and medium-sized families were naturally nothing. These family heads, who were usually high and mighty, all secretly swallowed their saliva. There were even 2 people whose hands began to tremble. They were really frightened by Ling Shiqi's cruel methods. Ling Shiqi said kindly, "Everyone, are you satisfied with this small gift?" "Ah, satisfied, satisfied. Lord Lu is really considerate. This is my first time meeting Lord Lu, but I didn't bring any gifts. It's really a sin." Several people showed an extremely ugly smile and perfunctorily said. Ling Shiqi smiled gently and said, "Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. The fact that you're willing to come is already giving me face." Hearing this, the family heads' hearts skipped a beat. They knew that Ling Shiqi was going to settle the score. However, Ling Shiqi directly ignored this matter and said, "Today, I invited the family heads of the 8 great families to come here to discuss something." When they heard Ling Shiqi mention the words 8 great clans, they were still not used to it. Their expressions were a little strange. In addition, Ling Shiqi did not pursue the matter of them attending the banquet 2 days ago, which surprised them. At this moment, Zhongqing cupped his fists and said, "May I ask if Lord Lu has any instructions?" As long as my Zhong family can do it, we will definitely support Lord Lu. Ling Shiqi didn't say what it was, but Zhong Qing immediately agreed. Obviously, he had already surrendered. Patriarch Zhong, you're exaggerating. How would I dare to instruct you all? I'm only here to discuss the matter of consecration. As expected. The patriarchs had already guessed that Ling Shiqi must be looking for them for worship. Ling Shiqi knocked on the table. A few days ago, you handed in only a third of what you used to give. I can let bygones be bygones. The patriarchs looked at each other, their hearts filled with doubt. Just now, Ling Shiqi didn't care about them slapping Ling Shiqi's face, and now he didn't pursue the matter of less consecration. Then what did he want? Ling Shiqi said, from today onwards, the rules of consecration should be changed. From today onwards, your consecration will no longer be handed in according to the amount, but according to your monthly share of profits. Zhong Qing asked hesitantly, Lord, how much do we have to hand in? Ling Shiqi stretched out his hand and raised 3 fingers. 30%, 30%. Everyone trembled. They all felt that Ling Shiqi was asking for too much. Their monthly profits were not small, but just supporting such a large family was a huge hole. In addition, they also had to train the family's children and leave behind capital for unexpected needs. After all, they didn't have much left in the first place. If they had to hand in 30% to the Dark Thunder Guards every month, then they really wouldn't be able to eat. Wansheng was the first to disagree. He said with a sullen face, Lord Lu, the consecration last time was too small. I admit that we were wrong. In the future, we will make up for it. But, isn't 30% too much? We really don't know what to say. He felt that he had already lowered his attitude to the lowest. He was waiting for Ling Shiqi's reply. However, what was waiting for him was Ling Shiqi's explosion. Ling Shiqi formed a seal with one hand, and lightning suddenly appeared in the room. A dozen lightning bolts as thick as an arm smashed down. It turned out that Ling Shiqi had already set up a lightning array in the room. How could Wansheng have thought that Ling Shiqi would suddenly attack when they were talking nicely? The dozen lightning bolts smashed down, causing Wansheng to scream in pain. The lightning entered his body and numbed him. At the same time, Ling Shiqi unsheathed his black jade sword. Demonic patterns appeared, and a sword ray that was like splashing ink suddenly slashed down. Wansheng's head also slid down and coincidentally rolled onto the table. Ling Shiqi put away his sword and sat down, as if nothing had happened. He sighed softly and said, I haven't finished speaking yet. What's the rush? It's finally quiet now. Right, where was I just now? The remaining 6 people were all dumbfounded. Their hearts almost jumped out of their bodies. How could they have expected that Ling Shiqi would suddenly kill people on the spot? And this room had already been tampered with. While they were frightened, they were also very glad. They were glad that Wansheng was the first to speak, and not them. Otherwise, the head rolling on the table wouldn't be Wansheng's, but one of them. Zhong Cheng was usually the most timid, and he cherished his life the most. He was the first to react. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He said, Sir, you said that we have to pay 30% of the profits every month. Zhong Cheng will definitely do it. Ling Shiqi nodded with satisfaction and said, Very good. The Wan family's business will belong to the Zhong family in the future. Just a simple sentence from him had caused the Zhong family's business to increase by more than 2-fold. Zhong Cheng immediately knelt down and said, Thank you, sir, for your reward. From now on, the Zhong family will belong to sir. I will definitely serve sir with all my loyalty. Seeing this scene, the other 5 people were a little regretful. If they had surrendered earlier, the Wan family's business would have been theirs. It must be known that the Wan family was a powerful family second only to the Jiang family and the Du family. They had many shops and resources in their hands. Ling Shiqi naturally saw through their thoughts. Family heads, don't be anxious. The Jiang family has been destroyed, and there are many businesses left. They can all be divided among you. Hiss. The 6 of them secretly gasped. The Jiang family was a big family. Even if the 6 of them divided it equally, they would all get a big piece of fat meat. If that was the case, paying 30% of the profits every month did not seem unacceptable. They were all tempted. Ling Shiqi continued, this is just a small profit. The reason why I asked you to pay 30% is because I will give you more wealth. As long as you agree to my conditions, from now on, you don't have to do that business secretly anymore. You can do it openly. I will support you. The patriarchs naturally knew what Ling Shiqi meant by that part of the business. It was smuggling. In the past, even with the tacit consent of the Dark Thunder Guards, they were careful and did not dare to go too far. If they could do it openly as Ling Shiqi said, it would be equivalent to a business with small capital and huge profits. Huge profits, huge profits. In this way, their profits would soar several times, or even 10 times. Even if they paid 30% of the profits, the remaining profits would be much more than what they were getting now. The 6 of them said at the same time, we are willing to be Sir Lu's leaders. Chapter 320. In the courtyard of the Dark Thunder Manor, there were more than 60 heavy boxes. Most of these were the resources obtained from the Jiang and Wan residences, and a small portion was the offerings from the remaining 6 families for this month. Although Ling Shiqi said that he didn't care, they handed them over obediently. The Dark Thunder Guards also surrounded these boxes, their eyes shining. They had never seen so many resources piled up together. This was already more than 3 times the wealth of the Dark Thunder Manor. Ling Shiqi said loudly, 20% of these resources will be mine, and 30% will be yours. The Dark Thunder Guards were moved when they heard this. With so many resources, even if they split 30% equally, it would be equivalent to their monthly salary for a year. They were a little surprised that Ling Shiqi was so generous, but of course, they were even more delighted. The remaining 40% will be given to the supervisor in charge of the North County, Lord Duan Chun. Ling Shiqi promised to openly smuggle resources to the families in Lan Chi City. This was actually breaking the rules of the Dark Thunder Guards, so he needed to use a large amount of resources to shut Duan Chun's mouth. As for the last 10%, give it to the city lord's residence, Ling Shiqi said. He had caused such a big commotion in the city and even killed the entire Jiang family in broad daylight. How could the city lord's residents not know about this? However, the city lord's residents and the city guards didn't react at all, which meant that they tacitly approved of Ling Shiqi's actions. This was a small favor that Ling Shiqi had to repay. After distributing the resources, Ling Shiqi began to pick what he wanted. There weren't many cultivation methods and spiritual techniques among these resources, and their grades weren't high either, but Ling Shiqi still secretly learned them. It was good to expand his spiritual techniques. Then, he directly took 23rd transformation spirit pills and some rare treasures to strengthen his body. During this period of time, he had consumed a lot of 3rd transformation spirit pills. In order to increase his cultivation rapidly, he had to replenish some. But at the same time, because his spiritual power was increasing very quickly, his physical strength hadn't increased much in a long time. It was already a bit of a burden to him. Therefore, Ling Shiqi was preparing to refine some treasures to increase his physical strength. Other than these, he only picked some resources that were not commonly used in order to accumulate system coins. After that, Ling Shiqi went back to his room and sold all the materials to the system for 1080 system coins. Looking at the system coins, Ling Shiqi's mind became active again. Now, he could draw 10 intermediate lottery draws and 1 unlimited lottery draw. Both methods had their pros and cons. Ling Shiqi hesitated for a moment before deciding to do an unlimited draw. The unlimited lottery draw could be said to be a way to win big with a small amount of money. It was indeed very likely that it would draw a beginner or intermediate prize, which would make him suffer a huge loss. However, it was also possible to draw a high-level or even god-tier prize. Rather than drawing some useless mid-level prizes, it was better to gamble. Moreover, he came prepared this time. That was the Stage 2 index card that he bought before. With this, the probability of drawing a good prize would increase by a lot. Since he had made up his mind, Ling Shiqi directly opened the lottery draw page and locked onto the unlimited lottery draw. However, at this time, he first used the Stage 2 index card. The first thing he could do was to take the initiative to choose which world the prize came from. Animation world, literature world, film world, game world, etc. Ling Shiqi did not hesitate to choose the game world. Then, many options appeared in front of his eyes, including equipment, materials, mounts, items, instance dungeons, skills. As soon as Ling Shiqi saw the word mount, he thought of it. When he completed the mission on Blood Mist Island, he had drawn an advanced mount pill. He had been keeping it at the bottom of his chest until now. If he could get a mount, then the high-grade mount pill would come in handy. However, a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes and he gave up. This was because no matter what mount he drew, it would be a bit eye-catching. If it was an ordinary mount, it would be fine. However, if he drew a creature that did not exist in this world, how would he explain it? Therefore, he still chose the skill. After a flash of light, a system notification appeared in front of his eyes. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the top prize, Fate. Fate. Ling Shiqi did not immediately remember what skill this was. He could not help but look at the skill description. Displays the location of all creatures on the map, including those in stealth mode, for 6 seconds. When the Fate skill is activated, the user can be teleported to any place within 100 miles after 5 seconds of channeling. Cooldown time, 1 natural day. When Ling Shiqi saw this description, he finally remembered. This was the ultimate skill of the card master in the Alliance game. This skill did not have any actual killing power, but it had a strong support ability and could instantly turn the situation into a situation where there were many enemies. However, the current skill was slightly different from the one in his memory. Since this was the real world, it was reasonable for it to be a little different. However, Ling Shiqi was still a little doubtful about the display of creatures on the map skill. This skill might require him to use his system map. However, if he did not open the system map, would this skill not work? Why not give it a try first? Just as Ling Shiqi was about to try out the skill, he realized that this skill could also be upgraded. He hurriedly used his unlimited skill points to upgrade Fate, but it could only be upgraded to level 3 at most. He looked at the skill description again. The original 6 seconds duration had now been extended to 10 seconds, and the range had also expanded to a radius of 300 miles. Ling Shiqi was also quite curious about the effects of Fate, so he immediately activated it. Immediately after, his system map automatically opened, and the field of view on the map kept increasing. However, the strange thing was that even though his field of view seemed to be high up in the sky, he could clearly see everyone on the map. It was a pity that his system map was not lit up much, and most of it was still pitch black. Within a radius of 300 miles, only Misty City, Mingshan, and the road from the West Wilderness Prefecture to Misty City were lit up. Now, he finally understood that as long as he willed it, he could directly teleport to any lit-up place on the map. After activating Fate, it only lasted for 10 seconds, and soon more than half of it had passed. Ling Shiqi originally did not intend to teleport out, but just as he was about to deactivate the skill, he suddenly noticed someone. That person was the head of the Du family, Du Hechang. They had just met this morning, but Du Hechang was already 100 miles away from Misty City at this time. Coincidentally, the direction he was heading in was a third-rate sect that Ling Shiqi had passed by on his way to Misty City. Ling Shiqi's eyes flashed, and red, blue, and yellow lights lit up under his feet. Finally, his figure disappeared. Chapter 321. In the Misty Chi City Lord's mansion, City Lord Sun Gang was reading a piece of information carefully. A person was standing behind him with 6 large chests beside them. After a while, Sun Gang put down the report and smiled. This Lu Xingji is quite capable and bold. He's quite interesting. Standing behind him was the commander of the Misty Chi City Guards, Su Ji. Both of them were at the Spirit Aperture realm. Since the West Desolate Province was at the border, the weakest person who could hold the position of City Lord and Commander of the City Guards was at the Spirit Aperture realm. Su Ji said in a deep voice, "City Lord, it's fine that Lu Xingji eradicated his dissidents. After all, it's an internal matter of the Dark Thunder Guards. However, he executed the entire Jiang clan in public, which has already made everyone in Misty Chi City anxious. It's indeed a bit too much. Also, he actually dared to let the other major clans, other than the Du clan, smuggle in public. He's simply audacious." Sun Gang looked deeply at Su Ji and said, "Su Ji, you have to know that our City Lord Residence's responsibility is to ensure the stability of Misty Chi City. We don't have to care about anything else. Even if the major clans smuggle in public, it's the Dark Thunder Guards who are in charge. If this matter is exposed, the Great Supervisor will naturally deal with Lu Xingji. We don't have to interfere. Moreover, you've seen the report on Lu Xingji. You think he's reckless and audacious, but I dare to bet that the North Region's Great Supervisor Duan Chun won't find trouble with him." Not only did a mid-stage Spirit Aperture Realm cultivator quickly secure his position as a supervisor, he even used his authority to make a fortune. Even the higher-ups will turn a blind eye to it. How can such a person be a fish in a pond? The more Su Ji listened, the more annoyed he felt. He knew what Sun Gang said, but there was an indescribable feeling in his heart that made him unusually depressed. However, Sun Gang could see through Su Ji's thoughts. He was jealous. As a supervisor, Ling Shiqi's position was half a level higher than Su Ji's, but his cultivation was far inferior to Su Ji's. That was fine. Su Ji was conscientious in managing the city guards and had never made any mistakes. However, he could only receive a fixed monthly salary. What about Ling Shiqi? They had only been in Misty City for a few days, but they had already plundered a large amount of resources. As the saying goes, there is no harm if there is no comparison. Su Ji was really a little jealous. However, Sun Gang didn't expose him. He said, "What I'm curious about is, how will he deal with the Du family?" Back then, it was the Jiang family and the Du family who had joined forces to pressure Lu Xingji. Now that the Jiang family had been annihilated, the rest of the families had already sided with Lu Xingji. What would he do with the Du family? Du Hexiang must be very anxious as well. That's right, Du Hexiang was very anxious. It could even be described as fear and terror. At this time, he was galloping on his horse. His horse was not an ordinary horse, but a specially bred spirit horse. In a sense, the spirit horse could also be reluctantly called a demonic beast that was not ranked. It could travel hundreds of miles in a day. Of course, it was very rare and could be counted with one's fingers in the entire Misty Chi City. Du Hechang hurried on his way. His heart was filled with worry and fear. It was too fast. Ling Shiqi took down the major families too quickly. It was so fast that it was beyond his imagination. It was so fast that he was afraid. In just 3 days, the original 9 super clans had become 7 super clans. Now, the remaining 6 family heads had already sided with Lu Xingji and had even made a fortune because of it. His Du family had become a loner. If this went on, Ling Shiqi wouldn't even need to do anything. Just the 6 major families would slowly crush the Du family. Now that the Du family was relying on themselves, they would follow in the footsteps of the Jiang family sooner or later. Thus, he needed to seek help. And the person he sought help from was the third-rate sect, Profound Yang sect. Profound Yang sect was located on Profound Yang Mountain, more than 200 miles away from Misty Chi City. Du Hechang rode on his spirit horse and could reach it in less than a day. At night, Du Hechang could already see Profound Yang Mountain. His heart also calmed down a little. However, what he didn't know was that in the forest that he had just passed, someone was hiding and watching him. This person was naturally Ling Shiqi. During the day, after he activated his fate skill, he saw Du Hechang galloping on his horse. The reason why Ling Shiqi chose to attack the Jiang family today was because Jiang Xan had beaten up Wei Guan. This was a loss of face for the Dark Lightning Guards, which was also a loss of face for Ling Shiqi. Secondly, the Jiang family obviously didn't betray the country, but the Du family was really suspicious. However, the Dark Lightning Guards hadn't found any conclusive evidence yet. Thus, Ling Shiqi wanted to lure the snake out of its hole. He deliberately chose to destroy the Jiang family to intimidate the other families. At the same time, he wanted to make Du Hechang panic. Once he panicked, he would naturally seek help. Whoever he looked for would be the biggest suspect. As long as he followed this trail, he might really be able to catch a big fish. Ling Shiqi saw the direction that Du Hechang went and determined that he was most likely going to Profound Yang sect. Thus, he directly teleported to the vicinity of Profound Yang Mountain. At this moment, Du Hechang really appeared here. Ling Shiqi thought to himself. This time, after activating his fate skill, he came out a bit suddenly. However, in the Dark Lightning manner, no one would go to his room in a short period of time. He decided to wait until tomorrow to teleport back. Right now, he was preparing to sneak into Profound Yang sect to investigate. When Du Hechang hurriedly entered Profound Yang sect, he didn't know that there was a tail following behind him. Profound Yang sect master, Li Xianyang, was a gray-haired old man. However, his cultivation was actually at the late stage of the spirit aperture realm. When he found out that Du Hechang wanted to see him in the middle of the night, he was a bit surprised. When he saw the travel-worn and anxious Du Hechang, he knew that something bad was going to happen. When Du Hechang saw Li Xianyang, he immediately went over and said, "Sect Master Li, something bad has happened." Li Xianyang sat down and said, "Speak slowly." Du Hechang said, "Sect Master Li, that matter can't continue. Not to mention that matter, even my Du family can't protect itself now." Li Xianyang frowned. What happened in Misty Chi City? Following that, Du Hechang told him about what Ling Shiqi did. Li Xianyang exclaimed in surprise, "This Lu Xingji actually has such methods." Actually, there was something he didn't say in his heart, and that was that Du Hechang was too useless. That's right. Originally, Sect Master Li wanted me to work with the other 8 great clans to provide Zhu Lugua with the fine iron to make arrows. Actually, everything was going quite smoothly. However, ever since that Lu Xingji came, he turned Misty Chi City upside down. Now, my Du family is the enemy of everyone in Misty Chi City. We could be overthrown at any time. Sect Master Li, please help this Du. Li Xianyang's eyes were filled with killing intent. He's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Since he doesn't know what's good for him, then let's change the supervisor. The previous supervisor, Sha Yu, will end up like Lu Xingji. Chapter 322. Ling Shiqi, who had heard all of this, was secretly shocked. He had only come to investigate who the Du family was colluding with, but it ended up implicating the previous supervisor, Sha Yu's death. And the Du family and the Profound Yang sect were actually in cahoots with the Zhu Lu country. The Zhu Lu country was the weakest country among the 6 countries of the western region. Its area was not even as big as the Western Desolate Province. Through the Profound Yang sect and the Du family, they smuggled large amounts of fine iron from the Thunderfire dynasty to forge arrows. What did they need arrows for? Of course, it was to fight. Now, it seemed that this small country was actually hiding quite a big ambition. Ling Shiqi thought to himself. This trip could be considered a coincidence. Not only did he find out the cause of Sha Yu's death, he also found out that the Du family and the Profound Yang sect were secretly colluding with the Zhu Lu country. However, it was useless. Because he had no evidence. The Profound Yang sect was not a small Jiang family that he could destroy as he wished. If he could have conclusive evidence, it would be a great contribution. However, Ling Shiqi heard the meaning behind Li Xuanyang's words. They seemed to want to make a move on him. Ling Shiqi concealed his aura and continued to listen. Li Xianyang said, "Take a short rest and rush back immediately. Don't alert anyone. Then, think of a way to lure Lu Xingji out of the Mishti Qi city. As for the rest, This Du understands, but..." Du Hechang was a little hesitant. But what? Du Hechang said, "It's just that the storm of Sha Yu's death is not over yet. Although the Misty Qi city did not send the Dark Thunder Guards to investigate, the North Region Supervisor, Duan Chun, has been secretly investigating this matter. If we kill Lu Xingji now, will we be exposed?" Li Xianyang stroked his beard and said, "You've thought it through quite thoroughly. But don't worry, I'm not going to kill Lu Xingji this time. With his insignificant cultivation, if I wanted to kill him, would I need you to lure him out? Coincidentally, the Zhu Lu country's people gave me a strange goo poison that can control people's hearts. It's just right to use it on Lu Xingji, a Spirit Pulse Realm supervisor. At that time, we will have a Dark Thunder Guard supervisor in our hands. It will be more convenient for us to do things in the future." Du Hechang was bewildered. There's actually such a miraculous item in this world. If that's the case, we can control the Dark Thunder Guards in Mist City without being targeted by Duan Chun. This is killing several birds with one stone. Alright, you should hurry back to avoid being noticed. I'll do it right away. Soon after, Du Hechang hurriedly left the Profound Sun Mountain. However, Ling Shiqi did not leave. He listened to Li Xianyang and Du Hechang's plan and was glad that he had made the trip. Otherwise, with his character, he might really be lured out of the city by Du Hechang. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, since he already knew, the initiative was in his hands. The reason he didn't leave was because he felt that Li Xianyang was hiding something from Du Hechang. He wanted to find out what Li Xianyang was planning. Moreover, he couldn't rush back to Mist City. He could only wait for Fate's cooldown to be over and teleport back. After Du Hechang left, a person walked in. He was the Grand Elder of Profound Sun Sect, Li Feizhou, a Spirit Aperture Realm middle stage cultivator. Profound Sun Sect was founded by Li Xianyang and Li Feizhou, 2 Spirit Aperture Realm experts. Li Feizhou said in a deep voice, "Senior brother, you're sinking deeper and deeper." Li Xianyang didn't look at him and said indifferently, "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sigh, senior brother, you and I are already so old, why can't you see past it?" "See past it? You're the one who can't see past it." Li Xuanyang's voice suddenly became louder, "You know that we're already so old, but among our disciples, which one has the hope of breaking through to the Spirit Aperture Realm? When we're all dead, do you think Profound Sun Sect will still exist without a Spirit Aperture Realm expert to hold the fort?" Li Feizhou shook his head, "It's fate. Profound Sun Sect's fate may only allow it to exist for a few decades. Li Xianyang said angrily, "What fate? I don't believe in fate. As long as I can help Zhu Lugua collect the refined iron, they will give me the first Origin 9 aperture crystal. With it, I can break through to the Gang Spirit Realm. Gang Spirit Realm. At that time, I will not only prolong my life, but also lead Profound Sun Sect to become a second-rate sect." Li Feizhou saw Li Xuanyang's crazy expression and couldn't help but sigh. "Senior brother, you know better than anyone whether you're doing this for Profound Sun Sect or for yourself. Whether it's to collect refined iron for Zhu Lugua or to kill the previous supervisor, Sha Yu, this crystal is enough to destroy Profound Sun Sect. Do you really think the Dark Thunder Guards of Western Wilderness Prefecture are mediocre? I'm afraid they've already noticed it, but they're not 100% sure. Once the Dark Thunder Guards find evidence, Profound Sun Sect will be destroyed. What's more, the Discipline Commission is watching us covetously. Senior brother, what you're doing is pushing us to the edge of a cliff. A little carelessness and we'll fall into the abyss. Listen to my advice and stop." "Stop." Li Xianyang laughed. "Haha, Feizhou, you're still so naive. From the moment I helped Zhu Lugua transport refined iron, we had no way out. For the sake of our many years of friendship, as long as you don't stop me, you'll still be the first elder of Profound Sun Sect, and I won't pursue the matter of you practicing demonic arts. But if you're stubborn, don't blame me for being cruel." But if he did that, it would be difficult to explain the origin of the experts of Blood Robe Pavilion, and it would be very easy to be exposed. If he was found out, then all his efforts would be in vain. Just as Ling Shiqi was hesitating, his illusion world trembled slightly. Chapter 323. Suddenly, Ling Shiqi felt the illusion world tremble slightly, and then a lazy voice sounded, "Ling Shiqi, quickly release my main body." When Ling Shiqi heard this voice, he knew that Nine Leaf had woken up. Fortunately, he had already left Profound Sun Mountain. He quickly sank into the ground and opened up a space to release Nine Leaf's main body. Immediately, a green light drilled out from between Ling Shiqi's eyebrows. It was Nine Leaf's soul body. Ling Shiqi keenly observed that Nine Leaf's soul body was obviously much stronger than before. After Nine Leaf's soul and fleshly body fused into one, her fleshly body immediately released traces of purple light. Now, Nine Leaf's main body was already the size of a millstone, and it was still growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only was her body growing, but her aura was also growing. It wasn't until Nine Leaf grew several times that it stopped, and her aura was clearly that of a rank 4 monster. Ling Shiqi was secretly shocked. Recently, Nine Leaf had been sleeping for a long time, but she didn't do anything. After waking up, she directly advanced, which made Ling Shiqi a little envious. Nine Leaf spun around twice and said, "And, the recovery of the body is not bad." Ling Shiqi raised his eyebrows slightly. Although Nine Leaf only said this short sentence, he still felt that Nine Leaf's tone and attitude seemed to have changed. He remembered that when he was still in the demonic Miasma mountain range, Nine Leaf had been demoted from a rank 7 great demon to a rank 2 little demonic beast. All day long, she looked like she had a deep grudge. She even asked Ling Shiqi to address her as an equal. Later, she became a rank 3 monster and was very curious about the outside world. It seemed that she had the mentality of a little girl. Now, Ling Shiqi dared to feel that Nine Leaf's tone was a little cold. Ling Shiqi decided to test it out. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior, congratulations on recovering your rank 4 cultivation. It's just around the corner." Nine Leaf said, "I've only recovered a little. It's just a little bit. There's still a long way to go before my cultivation recovers. Your cultivation has also improved very quickly. Where are we now?" Ling Shiqi grasped an important point from Nine Leaves' words, which was that Nine Leaf felt that he already had the foundation to establish himself. She was now a fourth-rank monster beast, which was equivalent to a spirit aperture realm expert. However, with her strength, she could even fight with those in the gang's spirit realm, so she did have the confidence. But this is not good for Ling Shiqi. This was because the difference in their strength was too great. Although the two of them had an equal blood contract, the difference in their strength still put them in different positions. Perhaps this was the reason for Nine Leaves' change in attitude. The demon race was just that straightforward. Ling Shiqi briefly explained what happened in the Western Wilderness Prefecture. Of course, he did not mention anything about the Blood Seed Project. Nine Leaves said, "You ran from Donglin County to Mukon County and then to the Western Desolate County. In just a few months, you've traversed the entire Thunderblaze dynasty. It's a pity that there's still something good in Extreme Fire Manor. With my current cultivation, I can get it, but it's too far away." Ling Shiqi did not expect that Nine Leaf was still thinking about the things in Extreme Fire Manor. However, it was precisely because Nine Leaves swallowed a large amount of resources in Extreme Fire Manor that he quickly recovered to the fourth rank. Nine Leaf continued, "Since we've come to the Western Wilderness Prefecture and are still close to the 6 countries of the Western region, there must be a lot of good things here. You continue to be the supervisor. I'll go out for a walk." Speaking of this, Nine Leaf planned to leave directly, but Ling Shiqi stopped him. "Senior, please wait. I actually have a request." Nine Leaf smiled humanly and said, "Humph, I knew something was up from your expression just now. You can tell me, but how much effort do you want from me? You have to pay the corresponding price." Ling Shiqi had known this would happen. Fortunately, he now had the support of the Dark Thunder Manor and the 6 families, which should be enough for Nine Leaf. Thus, he told Nine Leaf about Li Xianyang and Du Hechang teaming up to attack him. Nine Leaf said, "There really is such a parasite that can control people's hearts. However, I'm guessing that this thing should have a huge flaw." "Interesting. Do you want me to kill Li Xianyang?" "Easy." Ling Shiqi was shocked. Li Xianyang was a late-stage spirit aperture realm expert, but in Nine Leaf's mouth, he was like a fish on a chopping board. However, Li Xianyang could not die yet, so he said, "Li Xianyang is going to die, but before he dies, there's something I want to do." Junior plans to. Nine Leaf's eyes lit up when he heard Ling Shiqi's words. "Ling Shiqi, you're quite thoughtful. I can do what you said, but you have to pay the corresponding price." Ling Shiqi said, "Senior Nine Leaf, what do you need?" "There's no Yao core here, so I need a large amount of heavenly treasures. The worst has to be rank 4. Ling Shiqi said without hesitation, "After Junior destroys the Du family, all of the Du family's resources will belong to Senior." Nine Leaf tilted his head. "Brat, you're getting more and more adept at making empty promises. Junior doesn't dare." "Forget it. My strength has increased greatly, so I'm in a good mood, so I won't bicker with you. Moreover, I can give you a piece of information for free." "Information?" Ling Shiqi felt it was strange. Nine Leaf had been asleep all this time, so what information could she have? Of course, he still said, Junior would like to hear the details. Nine Leaf's voice became serious. "After I woke up, my soul recovered to the level of a rank 4 Yao beast. It shook your spiritual space. You should have felt it." Ling Shiqi nodded. "But at the moment when it shook, I faintly sensed another aura in your spiritual space." "What?" Ling Shiqi was shocked. He knew what Nine Leaf meant. In other words, other than Nine Leaf, there were other things hidden in his spiritual space. But what could it be? Nine Leaf continued, "I can also tell you that other than me, there are 2 other auras in your spiritual space. Your spiritual space has undergone a mutation, and the heavenly Yao soul crystal has merged into your spiritual space. And I'm a soul-leaving scorpion, so I'm very sensitive to soul auras. Moreover, I've used the heavenly Yao soul crystal to cultivate for hundreds of years, so I definitely can't be wrong. 2. Ling Shiqi was no longer surprised, but his heart sank, and he frowned. Senior, what are the characteristics of those two auras? I only sensed it for a moment. One of them gave me a dreamlike feeling. The other one is very strange. It seems to be between a living thing and a dead thing. This aura is hidden very deeply, almost to the depths of your soul. Ling Shiqi's face became more and more ugly. He was secretly guessing what those two auras were. Mo Ling, 9 Leave, and Meng Tianzong had entered his spiritual space before. According to 9 Leave, that dreamlike aura should be Meng Tianzong. He remembered that in the different space of the Divine Dream Illusion Palace, when Meng Tianzong woke up, everyone's memories had been tampered with. However, he absorbed a 7-colored light and instantly opened 9 spirit veins. He thought to himself, it must be at that time that Meng Tianzong did something to me. He didn't kill us, so he has other plans. But what is the other aura? The other one shouldn't be Mo Ling. Mo Ling was already killed by me. Even if he wasn't completely killed, he should have released demonic energy. Between a living thing and a dead thing. Hidden in the depths of my soul. Suddenly, Ling Shiqi's mind flashed. His body trembled, and 2 words appeared in his mind: system. Chapter 324. Ling Shiqi felt that if he guessed correctly, the other aura should be the system. The system was obviously not a product of this world. According to the language of his previous world, the system should be called artificial intelligence. That was why 9 Leaves said that its aura was between a living thing and an inanimate object. Ling Shiqi's soul had crossed over. Since he could open the system, it meant that the system was indeed hidden in the depths of his soul. In addition to the system, there was also Meng Tianzong in his spiritual fantasy world. Ling Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect that if he went to the spiritual fantasy world, he would be able to gather a table of mahjong. Let's talk about Meng Tianzong first. He was an absolutely ruthless person who killed tens of thousands of disciples. Such a person hid an aura in his spiritual fantasy world. This must be Meng Tianzong's method, but Ling Shiqi couldn't do anything about it. Other than being careful, there was really no other way. Even 9 Leave could only feel a trace of Meng Tianzong's aura when he broke through. This meant that Meng Tianzong was far more powerful than 9 Leave. Even 9 Leave couldn't help with this matter. Compared to Meng Tianzong, Ling Shiqi cared more about the system. When it came to decorum, Ling Shiqi really loved and hated it. If it weren't for the system, he might have died on Blood Mist Island. How could he be where he was today? However, he had seen too many systems in his previous life. Many of the system's bound hosts had become the system's puppets, which made him wary of the system at all times. This was like Lin Ying in Shi City. Lin Ying's ring hid an evil old man. If Ling Shiqi didn't kill Lin Ying might suddenly rise up and become one of the peerless geniuses of Donglin County. He did get a lot from the evil old man, but the result was that he would probably become a tool for the evil old man's rebirth. Lin Ying's relationship with the evil old man was similar to Ling Shiqi's relationship with the system. Ling Shiqi didn't want to become a puppet, so he had been working hard to fuse spiritual techniques and techniques. He wanted to use this method to get rid of the system's shackles. Even if he were to lose his system one day, he would still have a way to survive. More importantly, if even 9 Leave could sense the system, it meant that the system was most likely in the process of awakening. What would he do when the system awoke in the future? Ling Shiqi didn't know. Suddenly, he felt very confused. He just wanted to settle down in this world and live freely. However, all sorts of inexplicable things swarmed over. Whether it was Mo Ling, 9 Leave, or Meng Tianzong, they were all existences that he couldn't afford to offend. However, it seemed that they were all coveting something from him. Perhaps it was talent. Perhaps it was the future. The more Lang Shiqi thought about it, the more confused he became. Even his head started to hurt. Seeing his pained expression, 9 Leave said, "You don't have to be so distressed. It's still unknown whether this is a blessing or a curse for you. If you can devour those 2 auras, the benefits will be beyond your imagination. Of course, the premise is that you have enough strength." Devour? Strength. 9 Leave's words made Lang Shiqi instantly sober up as if he had been enlightened. That's right, no matter how distressed he was, he couldn't solve the problem. It was better to increase his strength as much as possible. With strength, he would have the capital to face Meng Tianzong and the system. Just as 9 Leave said, he could even devour Meng Tianzong and the system. Lang Shiqi closed and opened his eyes. His entire person did not change at all, but there was an additional aura around him that said that he would remain unmoved no matter what happened. In his mind, his will to pursue strength became even more firm. 9 Leave thought to himself, 2 people actually came in without me noticing. There are quite a few people who have their eyes on this kid. However, since I found out, don't blame me for what happens next. Lang Shiqi took a deep breath and collected all his thoughts. Then, he adjusted his breathing on the spot and waited until the cooldown of the fate skill was over before he directly teleported back to his room. Lang Shiqi didn't hide this from 9 Leave because he couldn't hide it even if he wanted to, unless he had to walk more than 100 kilometers back to Lan Chi City by himself. He arrived in Lan Chi City in an instant. 9 Leave exclaimed, "Teleportation. No, when did you have such an ability? Even a powerhouse in the divine origin realm can't do that." Lang Shiqi explained, "This is the power I obtained from the aura hidden in the depths of my soul. However, there are also many restrictions." "I see," 9 Leave said indifferently, but her tone was a little meaningful. Lang Shiqi returned to his room. He first carefully checked the door and found that there were no traces of it being moved. This meant that no one had entered his room during the day he was gone. However, he wasn't sure if anyone had come to look for him. Then, as usual, 9 Leave's soul body entered Lang Shiqi's spiritual fantasy realm while her body was stored in the system space. Lang Shiqi sorted out his thoughts and decided to start his plan. He shouted, "Men." Someone immediately pushed the door open and came in. It was Wei Guan. He bowed and said, "Sir." Lang Shiqi looked at Wei Guan's expression and didn't find anything unusual. It seemed that he hadn't left during this time. "Go and inform the 3 Dark Lightning envoys to meet me in the meeting hall in 15 minutes. "Yes." 15 minutes later, Lang Shiqi and the other 3 gathered in the meeting hall. Lang Shiqi sat on a jade chair and said, "Today, I have 2 things to tell you. First, you must keep a close eye on the Du family. If there's any movement, you must inform me immediately. Second, spread the news and tell all the Dark Lightning envoys to pay attention to the surrounding cities for people smuggling refined iron." Qiao Qian and the other 2 knew that Lang Shiqi was preparing to make a move on the Du family. They said simultaneously, "This humble one obeys." Just as they were about to leave, someone reported, "Sir, Commander Su Ji of Lan Chi City Guards requests an audience. Su Ji wants to see me." Lang Shiqi was also a bit surprised. He had never met this Su Ji before and had no interactions with him. What did he want? But since he came, he obviously couldn't refuse him. "Invite him in." Qiu Qing rolled his eyes and said, "Sir, this Su Ji is at the early stage of the spirit aperture realm. He's a bit stingy. I'm afraid he didn't come here for anything good." Lang Shiqi nodded slightly. Not long after, a tall and sturdy middle-aged man with a square face and silver armor walked in. Ling Shiqi cupped his fists and said, "Commander Su, I've heard a lot about you. Please sit." Su Ji said, "Sir Lu is too polite." He sat down without any trace of politeness and said, "The three of you can leave." As soon as these words were spoken, Chiu Cheng and the others frowned, and they said in their hearts, "Isn't this Su Ji a bit too arrogant?" Ling Shiqi chuckled. Chapter 325. Su Ji's actions made Ling Shiqi look bad. This was Dark Thunder Manor. What was the meaning of him, the commander of the city guards, coming here and pointing fingers at the Dark Thunder envoy in front of Ling Shiqi? In fact, Su Ji was also testing Ling Shiqi. He wanted to see how Ling Shiqi would react. Would he silently endure it, or would he lose his temper? But Su Ji never thought that Ling Shiqi would actually laugh. In terms of cultivation, Su Ji was naturally one realm higher than Ling Shiqi. But in terms of status, Ling Shiqi was the supervisor of several cities, while Su Ji was only the commander of Lan Chi City's city guards. Speaking of which, Ling Shiqi could be considered half of Su Ji's superior, but they weren't in the same system. Su Ji humiliated Ling Shiqi in front of everyone, yet he still laughed. Su Ji couldn't figure out Ling Shiqi's thoughts. Ling Shiqi chuckled, "Didn't you three hear? Commander Su asked you to leave." "Oh right, if you have time, you can take a look around the city guards." At this point, Ling Shiqi glanced at Su Ji. Who knows, there might be people in the city guards who break the law. Su Ji's expression became unnatural. He knew that Ling Shiqi was using his authority to suppress him. But the Dark Thunder envoy did have the right to supervise the city guards. Xiao Qian and the others really did leave, looking like they were going to carry out their orders. This time, Su Ji was a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to test Ling Shiqi, but in the end, he embarrassed himself. He couldn't help but feel a little angry in his heart. He coughed dryly. "I did come here to discuss something important. It's best if you and I know each other." Ling Shiqi was also secretly guessing Su Ji's thoughts, but he couldn't figure out what Su Ji wanted to do. He said, "Commander Su, if you have something to say, just say it." Su Ji clapped his hands and said, "All right, Lord Lu is straightforward. There's no one else here either, so this Su will say it directly. I've heard that Lord Lu is secretly supporting a few big families to do some small business. I don't know if this is true or not." Ling Shiqi obviously knew what this small business meant, but he immediately pulled a long face and said with some anger in his voice, "This is pure nonsense. Where did Great Commander Su hear this news? Humph, I don't know which rascal dares to slander the Dark Thunder Guards. I'm afraid he's tired of living." At the same time, Ling Shiqi also understood that Su Ji wanted to interfere. Su Ji saw that Ling Shiqi refused to admit it and sneered in his heart. He said, "Lu Darren, if you don't want people to know, don't do it." Moreover, as long as something like this was done, it was impossible not to leave traces behind. At that time, if it were to accidentally reach the ears of the great supervisor, Lord Duan Chun, I'm afraid it would be difficult for Lord Lu to clean up the mess. Ling Shiqi's face darkened. "Commander Su, are you threatening me?" Su Ji shook his head and said, "No, this Su is here to help Lord Lu." "Oh. How is Commander Su going to help me?" Ling Shiqi also wanted to know how Su Ji was going to help. Su Ji said, "Those families are involved in smuggling. Even if they have Lord Lu's secret support, it is inevitable that they will be exposed. However, if we add the cover of the city guards, then it will be foolproof." Ling Shiqi was silent for a moment, then nodded. "Commander Su is right. Then what does Commander Su want?" Su Ji raised a finger. I heard that Lord Lu wants the families to hand over 30% of the offerings every month. This Su wants 10% of that. 10%. Suji wanted to take a third of it. Ling Shiqi's heart gradually rose with cold killing intent. But he nodded and said, I can promise you. When Suji heard this, he was stunned at first. He didn't expect Ling Shiqi to agree so easily. Ling Shiqi changed the topic. However, I also have a condition. Suji felt that this was normal. Lord Lu, please say it. I need Commander Su to help me destroy the Du family. Du family. Suji's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. Since Lord Lu can destroy the Jiang family, it shouldn't be difficult to destroy the Du family. Ling Shiqi shook his head. Commander Su may not know, but according to my subordinates, there are other hidden experts in the Du family. If I act rashly, even if I can destroy the Du family, I will suffer heavy losses. Commander Su should know that it is not easy for us to train a qualified Dark Thunder Guard. Suji knew that Ling Shiqi's words were true. Every Dark Thunder Guard was strictly selected and trained. They were indeed elites and couldn't be lost. As long as Commander Su agrees to this, I will give you 10% of the offerings. Suji felt that even if the Du family had hidden experts, no matter how strong they would only be in the Spirit Pulse realm. In front of his Spirit Aperture realm cultivation, they were nothing. He only hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Ling Shiqi clapped his hands and said, Good. My subordinates have been secretly watching the Du family's every move. After a while, when I find a suitable opportunity, I will immediately send someone to inform Commander Su. However, Commander Su shouldn't reveal himself so easily. When the time comes, we will still need to disguise ourselves. As long as we destroy the Du family, you and I can silently make a fortune. At first, Suji felt that it was a bit troublesome. In his opinion, directly destroying the Du family would be enough. However, Ling Shiqi was right. His identity as the commander of the city guards was very sensitive and couldn't be casually exposed. In that case, I will wait for Lord Lu's good news. Suji said as he stood up. It seemed that he had the intention to leave. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Ling Shiqi took out a token and said, This is a token. If there is any news, I will send someone with this token to inform Commander Su. That is good. I will take my leave. I will see Commander Su out. After Ling Shiqi sent Suji out the door, he looked at his departing figure with a strange look in his eyes. It was the look of someone looking at a dead man. 3 days later, Ling Shiqi received a report from his subordinates. It said that Du Hechang had secretly left the city with 2 trusted aides. The head of the family had secretly left the city. There must be something fishy. Ling Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Du Hechang was deliberately luring him out. If he hadn't heard the conversation between Li Xianyang and Du Hechang, he would definitely have thought that there was something fishy and secretly followed them. He sneered, You are luring the snake out of its hole. Aren't I doing the same? Someone, call Pang Yuan over. Not long after, Pang Yuan arrived. Ling Shiqi handed him a token and a small package. Thousand Face, give these things to Suji. Remember, you must not let anyone know. Thousand Face smiled. Don't worry, Lord. This subordinate is the best at this. Ling Shiqi's fingers kept tapping on the jade chair. He went through the plan in his mind from beginning to end. After making sure that he didn't miss anything, he put on a disguise and quietly left the city. The plan began. Chapter 326. In a small forest a dozen miles away from Misty City, 2 sneaky figures met. Lord Lu, I don't think there's a need to be so cautious. The person who spoke was wearing an ordinary Dark Thunder Guard's uniform. He was the commander of the city guards, Su Ji. Ling Shiqi said, "There's nothing wrong with being careful. Du Hechang must be up to something by sneaking out of the city. We should follow him for a while and see what he's up to." Su Ji frowned slightly. "You Dark Thunder Guards are too troublesome. Are you the only one who came this time?" Ling Shiqi replied, "With Commander Su here, we can fight against thousands of soldiers." "That's true." Su Ji smiled proudly. In his opinion, Du Hechang and his two trusted aides might be in the spiritual pulse realm, but he could kill them with a flip of his hand. Ling Shiqi and Su Ji followed Du Hechang's group until late at night when Du Hechang walked into a valley. This valley was remote and uninhabited. It was a good place to kill. At this moment, Su Ji was getting impatient. He had to personally train the city guards every morning. He had to rush back before dawn. Su Ji said, "Lord Lu, I think this place is good. Don't follow them anymore. Just kill them and the Du family will be half dead." Ling Shiqi purposely hesitated for a while before agreeing. Then, the two of them sneaked into the valley. Soon, they saw Du Hechang's group standing at the side as if they were waiting for someone. Ling Shiqi and Su Ji looked at each other and nodded. Then, Ling Shiqi pulled out his inky jade sword and jumped out. Under the cover of the night, the inky jade sword stabbed at Du Hechang. However, Du Hechang was already prepared. The three of them pointed their fingers at the same time. Green, blue, and purple finger forces burst out and instantly shattered Ling Shiqi's inky jade sword. Ling Shiqi moved his inky jade sword and slashed out majestic inky jade sword to dissolve the three finger forces. Du Hechang smiled. "Lu Xingji, you really came." Ling Shiqi's expression changed. "Did you lure me here on purpose?" "Ha ha ha, Lu Xingji, today is the day you die. Do it." The moment Du Hechang's voice fell, the three closed in at the same time. Ling Shiqi shouted in a low voice, "Do you think I will come alone?" Du Hechang said, "Of course not. No matter how many people you bring here today, this will be your burial ground." Ling Shiqi snorted, "What arrogance! Commander Su, please show yourself." "Who?" "Commander Su." Du Hechang's heart also tightened. At this moment, a burly figure walked out from the darkness. Seeing this person, Du Hechang immediately exclaimed, "City Guard Grand Commander Su Ji." Su Ji crossed his arms and said with a sneer on his face, "Just now, you said that no matter how many people there are, they will all be buried here. I will return those words to you." Su Ji formed a blade with his palm. A destructive blade aura suddenly appeared and lit up the entire night sky. With a wave of the blade aura, it instantly tore apart the night sky and turned into a long waterfall that was about to tear Du Hechang and the others apart. However, at this moment, the night sky suddenly shone with a dazzling radiance like the sun. The appearance of the radiance actually directly melted Su Ji's blade aura. Su Ji was immediately shocked. He focused and said, "Who are you?" "I am the Grand Commander of Lan Chi City's City Guard. Please show yourself." He clearly felt that the person's cultivation was far above his. At the very least, he was an expert in the late stage of the spirit aperture realm. "Su Ji. Never heard of you." A voice sounded, but it made Su Ji's expression even more unsightly. When the person who spoke walked over, Su Ji's expression turned into one of shock. "Li Xianyang. Xianyang sect master, Li Xianyang. Why are you here?" Li Xianyang didn't intend to answer his question. He only said indifferently, "Just now, you said that everyone here will be buried here. I will return those words to you." Before Li Xianyang finished speaking, a ball of light like the sun suddenly lit up. He held the sun in his hand and it rippled with strange ripples. The sun-like palm fell with a loud rumble. Not only did it devour the night sky, it also wanted to devour Su Ji. A broadsword appeared in Su Ji's hand. The surrounding spiritual energy was madly absorbed into the sword. Soon after, the sword slashed out. It was actually a heavenly wolf howling at the moon. The image of a huge wolf flashed behind Su Ji and the sharp blade aura slashed towards the sun. However, although the heavenly wolf howling at the moon, it couldn't resist the 9 heavens Sunday. The blade aura only weakened the huge sun by a bit before it was completely destroyed. Su Ji swung his sword 3 times in succession before he could barely block this attack. His aura was actually starting to become a little chaotic. The difference between the early stage of the Spirit Aperture Realm and the late stage of the Spirit Aperture Realm was actually so great. Su Ji's heart instantly sank to the bottom of the valley. He never would have thought that chasing after 3 spiritual pulse stage cultivators would lead to a spiritual aperture stage late stage expert. And a sect master at that. Su Ji wasn't stupid. He already faintly guessed that this was a conspiracy, but it wasn't directed at him. If he hadn't gone to find Ling Shiqi, then the only one here would be Ling Shiqi himself. In other words, everything was directed at Ling Shiqi, and he had been dragged into it. Su Ji knew that he wasn't Li Xuanyang's opponent, but he also knew that Li Xianyang definitely wouldn't let him leave. Now, his only way out was to do everything he could to escape with his life. However, Li Xianyang didn't hide the dense killing intent in his eyes. Su Ji's appearance was indeed outside of their plan, but since he had run out, then they would deal with him together. Li Xianyang didn't say anything and slapped out again. At the same time, Du Hechang and the other 2 joined forces to attack Ling Shiqi. The other 2 were also high-level members of the Du family, Du Hekai and Du Helen. Both of them were at the middle stage of the Spirit Pulse realm. With the 3 of them attacking at the same time, Ling Shiqi immediately fell into a disadvantage. However, Ling Shiqi also noticed that the 3's attacks were fierce, but they didn't have any killing intent. They seemed to only want to restrain him. Because for Du Hechang, Ling Shiqi was more useful alive than dead. Ling Shiqi took the time to look at Su Ji. At this moment, Su Ji was no longer at a disadvantage, but was completely at a disadvantage. It was to the extent that if this continued, he would most likely die here. However, all of this was within his expectations. The reason why he agreed to Su Ji's request 3 days ago was to use this method to get rid of Su Ji. Next, he began to struggle against the 3's combined attacks. Not long after, a few wounds appeared on Ling Shiqi's body, while Su Ji was covered in blood. Li Xuanyang's body glowed with a golden light as he slammed down with his palm. Endless spirit energy tore through the night sky and shattered everything. Of course, this included Su Ji. Before Su Ji died, he was filled with regret. He regretted coveting Ling Shiqi's resources and causing him to die in the wilderness. His death was worthless. Chapter 327. Su Ji, the commander of Lan Chi City's city guards, had died just like that. He could only blame his opponent for being too strong. Su Ji's cultivation was much weaker than Li Xuanyang's. Moreover, Li Xianyang was the sect master and the entire sect's resources were concentrated on him alone. Therefore, Li Xuanyang's battle prowess far surpassed cultivators of the same level, not to mention Su Ji. In the end, Su Ji didn't even have the chance to escape before he was killed by Li Xianyang. Seeing Su Ji die, Du Hechang and the other 2 also stopped. The 3 of them surrounded Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi secretly absorbed Su Ji's remnant soul. The soul force of a spirit aperture realm expert was a great supplement. Not only did it increase his mental power and physical strength, it even healed his injuries. At this time, Li Xianyang walked over and said, "Do you know who I am?" Who doesn't know Li Xianyang, the sect master of the profound Yang sect? Ling Shiqi said indifferently. Then you should know that you have no ability to resist in front of me. That's right. Li Xianyang saw that Ling Shiqi didn't show any fear and couldn't help but praise. You only suffered light injuries under the siege of 3 Spirit Aperture's realm cultivators. You can still be so calm in front of me. I have to say that you're quite a character. It's a pity to kill you so easily. Ling Shiqi was surprised. What? Sect Masterly wants to let me go. Du Hechang continued, of course we won't let you go. However, I'm afraid you'll become a puppet in our hands in the future. Ling Shiqi showed a panicked expression and said, what are you doing? Du Hechang saw Ling Shiqi's expression and felt a burst of joy in his heart. Li Xianyang took out a palm-sized box from his mustard seed bag and opened it. Inside was a thumb-sized bug that emitted a faint glow. This is the heart-controlling goo unique to Zhulu country. In terms of rank, it's a 6th-tier treasure. It's a bit of a waste to use it on you, but since you're a supervisor, we'll be able to move the refined iron around as we please, Du Hechang said with a smile. Ling Shiqi gritted his teeth. Zhu Lugua. Fine iron. Good Du Hechang, good profound Yang sect, so you guys actually dared to smuggle refined iron to Zhulu country. This kind of action is enough for you to die 100 times over. Humph, Lord Lu, you speak so righteously. Aren't you also secretly supporting the other clans in their smuggling business? Once the mind-controlling goo is planted in your body, you will completely lose your own consciousness. Even if something happens, you, the supervisor, will have to take the blame for us. Ha 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 ha. Du Hechang laughed crazily. He had been suffering day and night for the past few days, and he was also afraid. He was afraid that the Ling Shiqi would do the same thing he did to the Jiang family and come knocking on his door unreasonably. At this moment, seeing that the situation was set, he finally released the resentment that he had been suppressing for a long time. Alright, cut the crap. Li Xianyang said, I will plant the mind-controlling goo in him. You guys patrol the surroundings and don't disturb me. Du Hechang and the other 2 replied, yes. Li Xianyang picked up the mind-controlling goo. The goo looked beautiful and delicate, more like a work of art than a terrible goo poison. Li Xianyang said with a gloomy face, Lu Xingji, you have no one to blame but yourself for being unlucky enough to meet me. Then, Li Xianyang closed his 5 fingers, and several golden rays turned into ropes that firmly bound Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi secretly struggled a few times and found that the golden ropes were very tough. Even if he used all his strength, he might not be able to break them. Li Xianyang said, don't waste your strength. Become my puppet. As he spoke, he gently cut a deep wound in Ling Shiqi's heart with his finger. He said with slight surprise, oh, your body is actually so strong. That's good. The more vigorous your qi and blood, the better you can raise the mind-controlling goo. Li Xianyang added a bit more strength and cut the wound even deeper. He could even see the beating heart inside. Strangely, Ling Shiqi did not bleed at all. It was because the golden rays flowing around the edge of the wound prevented blood from flowing out. Li Xianyang did not want Ling Shiqi to bleed to death. Then, he put the mind-controlling goo into Ling Shiqi's heart. He muttered an incantation that Ling Shiqi could not understand, and Ling Shiqi felt his heart being bitten. In fact, it was indeed so. The mind-controlling goo bit a small hole in Ling Shiqi's heart, and then it drilled into the small hole. Ling Shiqi suddenly felt his consciousness become blurry. His mind was in chaos, as if he had drunk a lot of wine. Li Xuanyang's incantation continued. After a while, Ling Shiqi's eyes became blurry and then returned to normal. However, at this time, Ling Shiqi's eyes were very empty, without a trace of color. Li Xuanyang's face was a little pale. He did not know goo techniques. He purely used his powerful cultivation to activate goo techniques, so the consumption was relatively high. When he saw Ling Shiqi's appearance, he still smiled. At this time, Du Hechang came over. Sect Masterly, did you succeed? Li Xianyang nodded and said, not bad, watch carefully. Then, he chanted an incantation, and Ling Shiqi's eyes appeared again. After he woke up, he said to Li Xianyang, Master. Du Hechang saw this and laughed. There is actually such a magical goo technique in the world. Wonderful, wonderful. Li Xianyang said, I will give you the incantation to control the spirit cultivator later. In the future, he will be under your control. However, you must not complicate matters. Just control him and help us gather a large amount of fine iron as soon as possible. Understood, this Du understands. Du Hechang nodded his head. There is one more thing, Li Xianyang said. Su Ji came out with Lu Xingji. He might have some kind of deal with the City Lord Manor. You must ask around and fool them about Su Ji's death. Sect Masterly, don't worry. We now have a supervisor in our hands. Great things can be expected. Li Xianyang laughed. As long as this is successful, I will help Patriarch Du break through to the Spirit Aperture realm. I won't go back on my word. Du Hechang was also laughing so hard that his mouth was almost crooked. Then, Li Xianyang passed the incantation to Du Hechang. He only managed to learn it when dawn was about to break. Du Hechang gave it a try and said, Lu Xingji, when we return, order all the Dark Lightning Guards to stop monitoring the transportation of fine iron. Ling Shiqi said stiffly, yes, Master. Du Hechang changed the incantation, and Ling Shiqi returned to normal. Then, he left on his own. Du Hechang and the other two returned to Lan Qi City through another path. What they didn't know was that not long after Ling Shiqi left, his body emitted a green glow. Nine Leaves' voice sounded, all right, stop pretending. Chapter 328. Ling Shiqi suddenly stopped in his tracks. He clutched his chest, and his eyes were filled with a sinister glint. He took the risk and deliberately let Li Xianyang plant the mind-controlling goo in his body so that he could lurk around them. This way, he could collect evidence of their crimes and wait for an opportunity to find out what they were going to do next. As for the mind-controlling goo, this goo worm was indeed strange. From a certain point of view, it could control a person's mind, and the person being controlled wouldn't know that they had become a puppet. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful this goo worm was, it was nothing in front of the rank 7 Nine Leaf. After Ling Shiqi left, Nine Leaf had already swallowed most of the mind-controlling goo's soul. In other words, the mind-controlling goo was in a half-dead state, but it was still in Ling Shiqi's heart. This way, Li Xianyang and Du Hechang could sense the mind-controlling goo, but they couldn't really control Ling Shiqi. At this time, a purple light flew out from between Ling Shiqi's eyebrows and fell into his hand. It was a purple gem-like thing. Nine Leaves said, everything that happened just now has been recorded here. Ling Shiqi was overjoyed. This was one of Nine Leaves' secret techniques. It could record all images and sounds for a period of time. He watched it carefully. This video recorded the incident where Li Xianyang and Du Hechang self-destructed and smuggled refined iron to sell to Zhu Lugua. This could be considered as solid evidence. However, this wasn't enough to take down a third-rate faction. It would be best if he could catch them red-handed. That would be a great contribution. Then Ling Shiqi used the Fate skill and teleported back to his room in Dark Thunder Manor. Then he went back to his room through the ground. The reason why he was so troublesome was because there was another Ling Shiqi in the room. The other Ling Shiqi was naturally Thousand Face. Ling Shiqi went out for two purposes. One of them was to use Li Xianyang to get rid of Su Ji. Only a few people knew that Su Zhi had left the city. Of course, these people would not leak it out. His body had also been disposed of. If nothing unexpected happened, no one would know that he was dead for a very long time. At most, he could only be considered missing. However, the sudden disappearance of the commander of the city guards, a spirit aperture realm expert, was not a small matter. The city lord's mansion would definitely send people to investigate. Su Zhi had come to Ling Shiqi a few days ago, but he disappeared not long after. Ling Shiqi was more or less suspicious. Therefore, he had to have an alibi. Thus, Ling Shiqi instructed Thousand Face to disguise himself as him after delivering the letter. Furthermore, Thousand Face had to deal with the affairs under the light of the lantern. From time to time, Thousand Face would call for someone to deliver some tea, pretending that he had always been at Dark Thunder Manor. When Thousand Face saw Ling Shiqi return, he didn't say anything. He just nodded and quietly left. Ling Shiqi sat down and rested for a while. Too many things had happened in one night, but fortunately, everything was still under his control. Now, he needed to cooperate with Du Hechang to collect large amounts of fine iron. When the sun rose, Ling Shiqi called the 3 Dark Thunder envoys to the meeting hall. Qiao Qian, Qiu Qing, and Pang Yuan bowed. "Greetings, sir." Qiao Qian and Qiu Qing were a bit confused. It was still early in the morning, yet Ling Shiqi had called them over. Was there something urgent? Unexpectedly, Ling Shiqi opened his mouth and said, "From today onwards, withdraw all surveillance of the Du clan." This time, they were not confused, but shocked. 2 days ago, he said that he would constantly monitor the Du clan's every move. Now, he was suddenly giving up. However, they didn't ask any questions. They all nodded in agreement. Ling Shiqi asked, "I mentioned last time. Are there people in the surrounding cities transporting fine iron?" Qiu Cheng was in charge of intelligence, so he knew the situation in the other cities the best. He replied, "Sir, I didn't know before investigating." After investigating, there were actually many clans secretly transporting fine iron. However, this humble one is curious. Fine iron itself isn't very profitable, and the imperial court has repeatedly forbidden private sales. Why are they still doing this? Ling Shiqi said, "Pass down the order. Have the subordinates continue to monitor and collect evidence, but don't do anything. If possible, help them secretly transport fine iron." Qiu Cheng's doubts deepened, but he seemed to feel that this matter wasn't simple. Qiao Qian's body trembled slightly. An idea appeared in his mind. He muttered, casting a long line to catch a big fish. Ling Shiqi heard this and looked at Qiao Qian with praise. Qiu Qing also realized that there were people secretly transporting fine iron in the surrounding cities. This couldn't be a coincidence. But why would they do this? Where did the fine iron go in the end? There must be a conspiracy behind this. Catching a few clans secretly transporting fine iron wouldn't be much of a merit. If they could catch a bunch of the masterminds, it would be a great merit. Qiu Qing hated that he wasn't as smart as Qiao Qian. Ling Shiqi asked again, "In the past, what should we do if we encounter trouble that we can't solve?" A Dark Thunder Manor like Lan Chi cities was usually led by a Spirit Aperture Realm supervisor, a few Spirit Pulse Realm Dark Thunder envoys, and dozens of Spirit Transformation Realm Dark Thunder guards. This kind of strength was equivalent to 50% of a third-rate sect. It wasn't weak. However, Ling Shiqi was dealing with a third-rate sect. He definitely wasn't a match for Li Xianyang, so how could he take down the Profound Yang sect? Qiu Cheng was the most senior of the 3. He didn't guess Ling Shiqi's intention just now, so he hurriedly said, "Sir, we did encounter this kind of situation before. Generally speaking, we can directly report it to Sir Duan Chun, who is in charge of the North County. Ling Shiqi tapped his fingers. If we report it to Sir Duan Chun, we won't get much credit. Is there any other way? This. Qiu Qing hesitated and said, it's not that there is no other way. Our Dark Thunder Guards have more power. Sir, you can actually mobilize some city guards. In addition, our Discipline Commission in the North County is also within the scope of mobilization. However, the rules are the rules, but it's hard to say whether they will contribute or not. City Guards, Discipline Commission. Ling Shiqi muttered these two names. He was in urgent need of a large number of people now, but the Discipline Commission was the first to be ruled out by him. The Discipline Commission was different from the Dark Thunder Guards. There was only one branch of the Discipline Commission in the entire North County. There were several spirit astral realm experts in the branch, which deterred the spirit cultivation sects in the North County. As a spirit pulse stage supervisor, the chances of him being able to recruit people were very slim. Thus, he could only set his sights on the city guards. Chapter 329. In the Misty Chi City Lord Manor, the City Lord, Sun Gang, was listening to his subordinate's report with a displeased expression. He was displeased because the commander of the city guards, Su Ji, didn't show up today. According to the City Lord Manor's rules, Su Ji had to train the city guards every morning and arrange for them to patrol the city. However, it was already late in the morning and Su Ji still hadn't shown up. He didn't even look for Su Ji in his residence. Where did this Su Ji go? Sun Gang's heart was filled with both doubt and anger. He said, "Tell me Su Ji's recent whereabouts." The person beside him, who was the vice commander of the city guards, Ning Xiu, took out a report. This subordinate has already prepared it. Please take a look, City Lord. Sun Gang looked at Ning Xiu meaningfully and took the report. When he saw that Su Ji had gone to look for Ling Shiqi, he frowned. He thought to himself, Su Ji still went to provoke Lu Xingji. Could it be related to Lu Xingji that he didn't show up today? Just as he was thinking, a servant outside reported, City Lord, the Dark Thunder Guard supervisor, Sir Lu, requests an audience. HM. Sun Gang was just thinking about Ling Shiqi, and now Ling Shiqi came to his door. Could it be that this matter really had something to do with him? Sun Gang said, "Please go to the main hall." Yes. Oh, Ning Xiu. Su Ji isn't here, so I'll leave the city guards to you for the time being. I'll go see the guest first. Ning Xiu was delighted and bowed. This subordinate will take his leave. Not long after Ling Shiqi sat down in the main hall of the City Lord Manor, Sun Gang walked in. I'm ashamed to have kept Sir Lu waiting. Misty Chi City Lord Manor was much stronger than Dark Thunder Manor, but in terms of official ranks, Ling Shiqi and Sun Gang were on the same level. However, as the supervisor of the Dark Thunder Guard, Ling Shiqi had the right to supervise the City Lord Manor, so Sun Gang had to be polite when he saw Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi's first impression of Sun Gang was that he was an old fox. He was much harder to deal with than Su Ji. The two of them praised each other for a while. Seeing that it was about time, Sun Gang asked, Lord Lu is supervising the surrounding cities and must be very busy. May I know why you are here today? Ling Shiqi smiled and said, You flatter me. I don't visit you without a reason. Today, I have something to ask of you. Oh. What is it that even the Dark Thunder Guards can't solve? This Sun is willing to hear the details, Sun Gang said with a serious expression. Ling Shiqi also said seriously, Actually, I'm here to ask City Lord Sun to help me deal with someone. Who is it? Li Xianyang, sect leader of the Xianyang sect. Ling Shiqi said word by word. Sun Gang was trying to guess Ling Shiqi's intentions. Li Xianyang is the sect master of a third-rate sect. Does Lord Lu want to deal with him? Ling Shiqi understood Sun Gang's meaning. The Xianyang sect secretly colluded with other countries and collected a large amount of iron that is forbidden by the dynasty. I'm preparing to capture them. I'm ashamed to say that Li Xianyang is a Spirit Aperture Realm late-stage expert. No one in my Dark Thunder residence can deal with him. That's why I'm here to ask City Lord Sun to help. Sun Gang heard this and asked, Lord Lu wants to deal with a Spirit Cultivator sect. This is not a small matter. Does Lord Lu have evidence? The evidence is conclusive. Ling Shiqi said with certainty. Then this Sun is even more confused. If this is true, Lord Lu only needs to report this to the North Region's Great Supervisor Duan Chen. He will naturally deal with the Xianyang sect. Ling Shiqi didn't hide his thoughts and said directly, Lord Duan Chen can indeed deal with the Xianyang sect easily. Then I won't be able to get much credit. At this time, Sun Gang also saw the ambition in Ling Shiqi, but he said, Lord Lu is right. But then again, this matter has nothing to do with the City Lord Mansion. To say the least, even if I help Lord Lu to deal with Li Xianyang, in the end, the credit will still be yours. Our City Lord Mansion won't get any benefits. Ling Shiqi knew this would happen. City Lord Sun, may I ask who is stronger between you and Li Xianyang? It was reasonable to say that this kind of question was impolite, but Sun Gang knew that Ling Shiqi must have a reason to ask this. He pondered for a moment and said, Li Xianyang and I are both at the 8th level of Spirit Aperture Realm. But as the leader of a sect, he must enjoy more resources than me. In terms of fighting power, I'm afraid he is stronger than me. Sun Gang didn't hide it and said it honestly. This point alone showed that his breadth of mind was incomparable to ordinary people. Ling Shiqi said, May I ask how long it will take for City Lord Sun to break through to Gang's Spirit Realm? Gang's Spirit Realm. Hearing these 3 words, a trace of loneliness flashed through Sun Gang's eyes. This time he didn't answer, but asked back, Why do you say so, Lord Lu? Ling Shiqi chuckled, If City Lord Sun helps me to deal with Li Xianyang, I have a way to get the first Origin 9 Aperture Crystal for City Lord Sun. What? Even Sun Gang, the City Lord at the late stage of Spirit Aperture Realm, was surprised when he heard the words First Origin 9 Aperture Crystal. He looked straight at Ling Shiqi and asked in a deep voice, Can Lord Lu really get the first Origin 9 Aperture Crystal? Ling Shiqi met Sun Gang's eyes and said, Absolutely. Good. I promise you. Sun Gang finally couldn't refuse the opportunity to break through to Gang's Spirit Realm, so he agreed. However, I will only deal with Li Xianyang, and I won't care about the others. Besides, this is my personal matter, and it has nothing to do with the City Lord Mansion or the City Guard. I understand. When I'm ready to take action, I will send someone to inform City Lord Sun. Goodbye. Ling Shiqi cupped his hands and strode out of the City Lord Mansion. It was worth it to win over Sun Gang this time. Although he was still far less powerful than Xianyang's sect, he had a way to lure Li Xianyang out. At that time, it was not impossible to destroy Xianyang's sect by attacking them one by one. After returning to the Dark Thunder Mansion, Ling Shiqi continued his closed-door training after explaining everything. He still had more than 30 spiritual skills to deduce. Moreover, the plan against Xianyang's sect needed time to be carried out slowly. He could take advantage of this time to improve his strength as much as possible. The more powerful he was, the smoother the plan would be. In the blink of an eye, 1 month had passed. At this time, Ling Shiqi was soaking in a large tub filled with light brown liquid. Ling Shiqi's body was surrounded by a faint devil qi. The devil qi was constantly absorbing the power in the liquid and integrating it into Ling Shiqi's body. He was using the medicinal bath to strengthen his body. At the same time, he was also running the Evil 9 Secret Beast blood record to cultivate his spiritual energy. In his spiritual fantasy world, his spiritual body was also deducing his spiritual energy. He was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt the poisonous heart control insect in his heart move. Chapter 330. Ling Shiqi immediately stopped cultivating when he felt the heart-controlling goo in his body move. He knew that Du Hechang was contacting him. Coincidentally, there was a knock on his door at the same time. He knew that the time was ripe. Ling Shiqi removed the soul-splitting technique and put on his clothes. This month of closed-door cultivation had benefited him greatly. First, in terms of cultivation, he had several top cultivation techniques. Coupled with the 3rd cycle spirit melting pill and spirit stones, he had touched the bottleneck of the 7th level of the spirit vein realm. Unfortunately, the gap between the 6th and 7th level was huge. It was not something that could be broken through in a short period of time. In addition to his cultivation, the strength of his body had also been strengthened by the continuous use of good quality medicinal baths. In terms of strength, his current physical strength was comparable to a spirit cultivator at the 3rd level of the spirit transformation realm. In addition, his mental strength had been absorbing the power of the heaven demon spirit crystal. He had also been deducing spirit techniques and was constantly growing. In terms of spirit techniques, he had also gained a lot in this month. He had already comprehended a unique technique, but he had further integrated it with the formation breaking cross spear. Wu Xiang had given him a spear technique called the Golden Scale Spear Technique. He had integrated this technique into the formation breaking cross spear, becoming an even more powerful golden scale cross spear. In addition, he had made breakthroughs in his movement and claw techniques. Although his cultivation did not have a major breakthrough, his strength had improved. After tidying up, Ling Shiqi opened the door. Qiu Cheng and the other 2 were standing outside. Seeing Ling Shiqi come out, Qiu Cheng said, "Sir, the 6 families have sent this month's offerings, but they must see you personally." Qiao Qian said excitedly, "My lord, the offerings from these 6 clans are at least twice as much as the previous 9 clans combined." Ling Shiqi nodded, "I know, bring them to the meeting room." Not long after, the patriarchs of the 6 families met Ling Shiqi in the meeting hall. Their faces were all flushed with joy. Zhong Cheng was the first to speak. "Lord Lu, you really are our lucky star. In the past month, our profits have tripled compared to the past. This was just the beginning. There would definitely be more and more in the future. We really don't know how to repay you." Ling Shiqi secretly laughed. These people were now begging him to come. Now that they had gotten benefits, they were afraid that Ling Shiqi would kick them out. He raised his hand and said, "Everyone, there's no need to be like this. We're just mutually benefiting each other. As long as you abide by my rules, you'll enjoy endless glory and wealth." Yes, yes, yes. Lord Lu is right. In the future, as long as Lord Lu has any orders, we will definitely do our best to fulfill them. Ling Shiqi raised his eyebrows slightly. "Oh, is that so?" The 6 patriarchs all said in unison, "Of course." "Very good." Ling Shiqi said, "In the next 2 days, each family will send 1 Spirit Pulse Realm Cultivator and 10 Spirit Transformation Realm Cultivators to lend them to me." Ah. The 6 patriarchs were slightly stunned. They were just being polite. Who knew that Ling Shiqi really had something to say? And he wanted them as soon as he opened his mouth. Even the weakest had to be at the spirit transformation realm. The Wang family elder hesitated for a moment, then said righteously, "Lord Lu, our Wang family only has 1 Spirit Pulse Realm Cultivator left. If Lord Lu has any orders, this old man will not be afraid even if his bones are crushed." Zhongqing also reacted quickly and hurriedly said, "This Zhong is the same." When the others saw that even the Wang family elder had agreed, what reason did they have to disagree? Moreover, they didn't dare to disagree. Ling Shiqi said, "Everyone, don't worry. Your people won't do anything dangerous. After this, however many people you send will return. Not a single one will be missing." At this moment, the few of them felt relieved and agreed one after another. After Ling Shiqi sent these people away, he called Xiao Qian and the other two over and ordered them to secretly gather the scattered Dark Thunder Guards back. After dealing with these matters, Ling Shiqi quietly sneaked into the Du residence. At this moment, Du Hechang was secretly talking to a black-clothed man in the Du residence. "Patriarch Du, the sect master has given the order. The time is set to be 3 days later at Ai Ming Mountain, 100 miles away from Mishti Chi City." Du Hechang frowned slightly and said, "Ai Ming Mountain. That place isn't very hidden, why choose that place? Anyways, the supervisor of Mishti Chi City's Dark Thunder Manor is in our hands. As long as he makes the arrangements, nothing will go wrong." "That's true." "Who?" Before Du Hechang could finish his sentence, he suddenly realized that a figure had mysteriously appeared in the room. When he saw the appearance of the person, he laughed sinisterly, "So it's our supervisor." Du Hechang chanted an incantation. Ling Shiqi immediately became expressionless and stared blankly. He said, "Go back and order the Dark Thunder Guards to not let anyone near Ai Ming Mountain for 10 days. 3 days later, you will personally lead people to guard the entrances around Ai Ming Mountain." "Alright, you can go back first." Ling Shiqi said stiffly, "Yes." After returning to Dark Thunder Manor, Ling Shiqi immediately issued one order after another. All the Dark Thunder Guards, including the people of the 6 great families, were mobilized. In these 2 days, the 6 great families had sent out several caravans. This was very normal, so it didn't attract anyone's attention. But what others didn't know was that some of the caravans had secretly lost a few people midway, and these people had secretly gathered near Ai Ming Mountain. In addition, the Misty Chi City Lord, Sun Gang, personally went out of the city to investigate the disappearance of the city guard commander Su Ji. In Profound Yang's sect, Li Xianyang was also making arrangements. When he heard the report from his subordinates that the plan was going well, he couldn't help but smile. "Very good. Now go and inform Mr. Gill that the deal will be held in Ai Ming Mountain 3 days later." "Ha ha ha, First Origin 9 Aperture Crystal, Gang Spirit Realm, all mine, all mine." Li Xianyang laughed crazily as if the Gang Spirit Realm was waving to him. As for Ling Shiqi, he was also negotiating with 9 Leave at this time. "Senior 9 Leave, the resources sent by the 6 great families today plus half of the resources from the Du family will be the reward for helping me solve the mind-controlling bug last time. Do you think it's enough?" 9 Leave said, "Although the quality of those resources is a little low, there are a lot of them left." "Okay." Ling Shiqi said again, "These families don't have any high-level resources, but Profound Yang's sect definitely has some." "Humph, do you think I can't tell what you're thinking? If you want to borrow my strength, you have to give me at least half of the resources of Profound Yang's sect." 9 Leave asked for half of the resources of a third-class sect. However, Ling Shiqi did not hesitate at all and readily agreed. Deal. Both Ling Shiqi and Li Xianyang were making arrangements to welcome the coming storm. Chapter 331. 3 days later, in the middle of the night, Lan Chi City gradually returned to silence, but Ai Ming Mountain was quite lively. Ling Shiqi led a group of Dark Lightning Guards to guard every entrance and exit of Ai Ming Mountain, forbidding anyone from entering. However, 2 groups of people were let in. One of them was Li Xianyang. Li Xianyang brought his 4 direct disciples and 20 elite disciples of the Spirit Transformation Realm into Ai Ming Mountain. The other group came from Zhu Lu country, led by a strangely dressed man with a large beard. This kind of person was not rare in the West Desolate province, and could be seen in every city, so he did not attract the attention of others. He was the one who made the deal with Li Xianyang, Jill. Jill and 2 other Spirit Pulse Realm cultivators entered AI Ming Mountain. His own cultivation was only at the Spirit Pulse Realm, because although the Thunderblaze dynasty had trade relations with the 6 countries of the West, they had strict requirements for the people from the 6 countries of the West. One of the most important rules was that foreigners of the Spirit Aperture Realm and above were not allowed to enter the dynasty. While restricting the cultivation of the people from the 6 countries of the West, all the city lords of the West Desolate province were Spirit Aperture Realm experts. As a result, the 6 countries of the West would not be able to make any waves. But today, Zhulu country took advantage of this loophole. Li Xianyang and Jill met at AI Ming Mountain. When Li Xianyang saw Jill, it was as if he saw the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal walking towards him. He was not worried that Jill would go back on his words. The reason why he chose to make the deal at AI Ming Mountain was not only because Ling Shiqi could cover for them, but also to secretly warn Jill that this was the Thunderblaze dynasty, the territory of his Xianyang sect. If Jill dared to go back on his words, he would definitely not let him go back. The two did not exchange too many pleasantries, they both knew the urgency of the matter. The sooner they completed the deal, the less trouble there would be. Li Xianyang ordered his disciples to guard the surroundings while he took out more than 20 mustard seed bags from his bag. Just these mustard seed bags alone were worth a lot. Jill immediately took one of the mustard seed bags and opened it. Inside, there were countless iron essences neatly stacked. He could not help but smile. Jill said in a strange accent, "Sect Leader Li, I'm very satisfied with the goods. I believe His Majesty will be very satisfied as well. This is the gift we prepared for Sect Leader Li." As Jill spoke, he took out a jade box. When he opened the jade box, a 9-colored glazed light burst out from within. Li Xianyang looked greedily at the palm-sized crystal in front of him. It was none other than the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal. He took the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal with trembling hands and held it tightly as if he was holding on to his future. He laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, Mr. Jill is indeed a man of his word. Of course, we Zhulu people value credibility the most," Jill said as he picked up a small pile of mustard seed bags. However, at this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Both of their expressions tensed up. When Li Xianyang saw that it was Ling Shiqi, he asked, "What happened?" "A caravan is camping at the foot of the mountain," Ling Shiqi said stiffly. "Caravan?" Li Xianyang and Jill looked at each other. Li Xianyang's eyes were filled with killing intent. Tonight's matter could not be leaked, otherwise he and the profound Yang sect would fall into the abyss. Li Xianyang said, "Lead the Dark Thunder Guards and kill them all." Ling Shiqi said, "There are many of them. I can't guarantee that none will survive." Li Xianyang frowned. "Chang, take the Spirit Transformation Realm disciples to assist the Dark Thunder Guards. Do not let a single one escape." "Yes, Master." A late-stage Spirit Pulse Realm cultivator nodded. Then he led the 20 Spirit Transformation Realm disciples of the profound Yang sect down the mountain with Ling Shiqi. Jill said, "Sect Leader Li, there won't be any accidents, right?" "Don't worry, Mr. Jill. It's just a small problem. I'm sure it won't take long to deal with." Li Xianyang obviously didn't put the caravan in his eyes. "But your people will inevitably leave traces behind. Furthermore, it's not convenient for us to leave now." Jill seemed to be a little anxious. Li Xianyang smiled. "Mr. Jill, do you know who that person was?" "Who was it?" Li Xianyang explained, "That's the Dark Thunder Guard supervisor in charge of inspecting the vicinity of Mist Chi City, Lu Xingji. With him here, he will clean up all traces here. Furthermore, no one will investigate this matter." Sect leader Li can actually control the supervisor of the Dark Thunder Guards? Jill exclaimed. Ha, it's all thanks to the mind-controlling voodoo that Mr. Jill gave me. The mind-controlling voodoo is just a tool. It's truly admirable that Sect leader Li can use it to control a supervisor. No wonder Sect leader Li can collect the refined iron so smoothly. As the two spoke, they heard sounds of fighting coming from the foot of the mountain, as well as some fluctuations of spiritual energy. It seemed that their people were already silencing the poor caravan. After a while, the commotion below became quieter. Li Xianyang guessed that it should be over. Not long after, a group of 22 people came over. Li Xianyang smiled when he saw that other than Ling Shiqi, the rest were all wearing the Profound Yang sect's uniform. Ling Shiqi stepped forward and said, "Everyone has been silenced." Very good. Li Xianyang nodded in satisfaction. At this time, Chang walked up to Li Xianyang and opened his mouth, as if he had something to say. Li Xianyang said, "Speak." Chang leaned close to Li Xianyang's ear and said, "Go to hell." The moment Chang opened his mouth, he threw a punch forward. As he punched out, fiery light instantly rose up in the dark night, condensing into a cloud of fire, burning the heaven and earth. How could Li Xianyang have imagined that his eldest personal disciple would sneak up on him? Moreover, his disciple, Chang, didn't practice fist techniques at all. This Chang was a fake. Even more frightening was that the power of this fiery fist energy was no less than his. This meant that the attacker's cultivation was on par with his. However, Chang was too close to him. Li Xianyang had no time to counterattack, and could only release a golden glow from his body to block the attack. The fiery cloud instantly tore through Li Xianyang's golden glow, and the fiery fist energy slammed into his body. Even though Li Xianyang was at the 8th level of the Spirit Aperture Realm, he hadn't practiced any body refining techniques. Moreover, he wasn't young. After being ambushed by Sun Gang, who was disguised as Chang, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and was heavily injured. At the same time, the other 21 people split into two. Half went to kill the remaining 3 Spirit Pulse Realm disciples, while the other half went to attack Jill and the other 2. Among them, Ling Shiqi took the lead and unsheathed his inky jade sword. With a tyrannical inky sword light, he stabbed towards Jill. At this time, Ling Shiqi finally revealed his ferocious fangs. Chapter 332. All of this had happened too suddenly. It was so sudden that even Li Xianyang could not react, not to mention his 3 disciples and Jill. Although the 6 of them were all in the Spirit Pulse realm, under the joint attack of Ling Shiqi and his 3 Dark Lightning envoys, as well as the experts of the 6 great families, they immediately fell into a dead end. And the reason for all of this was the caravan that came to Ai Ming Mountain, which was actually a team of experts from the 6 great families. Ling Shiqi calculated that Li Xianyang would definitely not let this caravan go, so he used a lack of manpower as an excuse to transfer away a portion of Li Xianyang's fighting strength. The battle at the foot of the mountain was actually caused by Ling Shiqi and the rest killing Chang and the others. After that, Thousand Face Mask disguised everyone and put on the Profound Yang sect's clothes to prepare for a sneak attack on Li Xianyang. As the main force, Sun Gang's city lord naturally disguised himself as Chang, the only one who could get close to Li Xianyang. Thus, the scene in front of them happened. Once they started fighting, Sun Gang's disguise also disappeared, and Li Xianyang immediately recognized him. Li Xianyang was shocked. "Sun Gang. Why are you here?" Sun Gang roared, "You secretly colluded with the Zhulu country. Your crime is unforgivable, everyone should kill you." Sun Gang clenched his fists, and the clothes on his body immediately flew off, only to see 8 sparkling spirit veins on his arms, as well as dozens of resplendent stars. Those were the spirit cavities. Sun Gang's cultivation technique was obviously very extreme. He gathered all the spirit veins and spirit cavities on his arms. This way, his fist technique would be boundless. Sun Gang's fists collided, and a loud boom sounded out, following which a scarlet-red sun appeared. The entire AI Ming Mountain was enveloped in waves of heat. Li Xianyang roared, his palms facing the sky, and the surrounding spirit energy of heaven and earth frantically gathered. Pieces of golden light constantly surged, and a golden sun rose in the sky. This was Li Xuanyang's foundation, the glorious sun, mysterious sun palm. At the peak of AI Ming Mountain, 2 suns appeared. The other spirit pulse stage spirit cultivators who were fighting all dodged, while Ling Shiqi stared at Jill. Everyone here had to die, but Jill couldn't die. He had to capture him alive. Jill had been ambushed in the first place. The Ling Shiqi inky jade sword was still engraved with 63 demonic patterns, and it was currently sweeping over with a violent sword aura. Gil pulled out a pair of strange scimitars and was about to face the enemy, but Ling Shiqi's eyes suddenly flashed with colorful light, and Gil's action of pulling out the scimitars suddenly stopped. In less than a breath's time, he woke up, but Ling Shiqi's sword was already close to him. Gil barely had enough time to block the attack. As the sword light swept past, the inky jade sword directly shattered the scimitar and even chopped off Gil's entire right arm. Ling Shiqi's sword shook, and over 100 invisible invading meridian sword chi shot out, instantly opening numerous wounds on Jill's body. At the same time, over 100 sword chi entered his body and sealed his meridians. Ling Shiqi took advantage of the situation and directly knocked Jill unconscious with his palm. Then, he pointed out a finger, and in an instant, blood chi soared into the sky, thunder raged, and a thunderous bloody light shot towards another Zhu Lu country person. That person was currently surrounded by several people and was already struggling. How could he have the energy to block Ling Shiqi's thunder blood sky finger? A thunderous blood line flashed, and in the blink of an eye, that person's head exploded. The few people who were attacking were stunned. They had joined forces to attack this person, but they had only injured him. Ling Shiqi had actually killed him in an instant. What kind of strength was this? They turned around and saw that even Jill had been subdued by Ling Shiqi. They couldn't help but sigh at Ling Shiqi's strength. After Ling Shiqi killed this person, he didn't care about them anymore. Instead, he rushed towards the 3 Spirit Pulse Realm cultivators of the Xianyang sect. The 3 of them were all direct disciples of Li Xianyang and must die. However, just as he rushed over, he heard a loud explosion. It was Sun Gang and Li Xuanyang's sons colliding. The entire AI Ming Mountain was suddenly enveloped by an endless golden and red light, followed by a terrifying wave of spirit energy, causing everyone to retreat. Ling Shiqi quietly opened his Bikugan, and in his vision, he instantly discovered that Li Xuanyang's strength was about to collapse. Sure enough, after 2 breaths of time, the red sun completely swallowed the golden sun, and Li Xianyang spat out another mouthful of blood. If the 2 of them were at their peak, Li Xianyang would be stronger than Sun Gang, but he was attacked by Sun Gang at close range and was heavily injured. From that moment onwards, Li Xianyang already knew the result. However, when he saw that Jill had been subdued and his 3 disciples were on the verge of death, his eyes immediately widened. Jill had fallen into the hands of others, and that was proof of his betrayal. His Xianyang sect would not be able to escape the fate of being destroyed. As a sect leader, Li Xianyang quickly understood that this was all because of one person, and that was Ling Shiqi. He stared at Ling Shiqi and said fiercely, You actually weren't controlled by the mind-controlling goo. You've been pretending all along. Ling Shiqi sneered, That's right. How did you do it? Even so, Li Xianyang still found it hard to believe. Ling Shiqi said, The dead don't need to know so much, City Lord Sun. Sun Gang raised his huge fist, and a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano. It seemed like Sun Gang was ready to use his killing move. At this time, Li Xianyang laughed strangely. Do you think you can defeat me like this? As soon as he finished his words, his whole body burst out with a strong bloody light. He actually began to burn all his essence blood. Not only that, but Li Xianyang had also done something completely unexpected. His body moved as fast as a flash of light, and he turned around and rushed down the cliff of Ai Ming Mountain. Although Ai Ming Mountain was only a small mountain, if he fell down, he would definitely die even if he was an expert in the late stage of Spirit Aperture Realm. However, Li Xianyang seemed to have other means. He left behind a ruthless sentence: Ling Shiqi, Sun Gang, just you wait. When I break through to Gang's spirit realm, it will be the time of your death. Sun Gang waited and watched Li Xianyang fall down the cliff. He did not dare to jump down, but he knew that he could not get the first Origin 9 Aperture Crystal. In addition, he had to be careful of Li Xianyang's revenge in the future. In a fit of anger, he killed 3 of Li Xianyang's personal disciples in an instant. The remnant souls of several spiritual pulse realm cultivators benefited Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi knew that Sun Gang was furious. He said, "Don't worry, City Lord Sun. Li Xianyang is seriously injured and has burned his essence blood. He can't run far. I will report this matter later. He will be executed soon. If we can recover the first Origin 9 Aperture Crystal, we will definitely give it to City Lord Sun." Sun Gang was silent for a moment. Although he was angry, he knew that there was no problem with the arrangement tonight. And from what Li Xianyang said just now, Ling Shiqi had put himself in danger by being poisoned. In other words, except for Li Xianyang jumping off the cliff, everything was in Ling Shiqi's plan. Therefore, Sun Gang had nothing to say. He lowered his voice and said, "Then I will wait for the good news from Lord Lu." With that, he flicked his sleeves and left. As for Ling Shiqi, after he quickly settled everything, he ordered everyone to rush to the vicinity of Xianyang Mountain and wait for orders. He secretly activated the Fate skill. Chapter 333. At the bottom of the cliff of Ai Ming Mountain, a person covered in blood was stumbling and running in a sorry state. This person was the sect master of the third-rate Xianyang sect, Li Xianyang. Li Xianyang's clothes were tattered and his hair was disheveled. He didn't look like a sect master at all. First, he was ambushed by Sun Gang and defeated. Then, he burned his essence blood and used his trump card to escape. However, his eyes were as cold as a beast's and filled with hatred. Hatred that soared to the heavens. He had been tricked by someone else, and that person was only at the mid-stage of the Spirit Pulse realm. Lu Xingji, what a good Lu Xingji. I'll skin you alive and pull out your tendons to relieve my hatred. Li Xianyang said through gritted teeth. But at this moment, his body froze. Red, blue, and yellow spirit light suddenly appeared in front of him. Then, a figure bathed in spirit light walked out. This person was wearing a set of ferocious-looking demonic armor, and behind him was a cloak made of silver-white flowing light. His eyes were greenish-white, and there was a strange blood-red mark on his forehead. Moreover, his body was surrounded by purple demonic chi. His aura was comparable to the mid-stage of the Spirit Aperture Realm. This was Ling Shiqi, who had activated the demonic Beast Blood Rune armor, the Beast Origin Battle Rune, the White Eye, and the demonic Fiend Blood Rune. Ling Shiqi in his strongest state. Li Xianyang looked at the person who suddenly appeared. He didn't say anything because Ling Shiqi's dense killing intent said it all. He was here to kill Li Xianyang. Ling Shiqi's hands formed a seal. Cold chi and hot flames soared into the sky at the same time. Fire and ice tornado. However, this tornado didn't sweep out. Instead, it spread out and enveloped Ling Shiqi and Li Xianyang. The reason he did this was to prevent Li Xianyang from escaping. Li Xianyang's expression was grave. He didn't expect Ling Shiqi to be a difficult spirit caster. But of course, Li Xianyang wasn't going to just sit there and wait for death. Without hesitation, he ignited his blood essence again. Li Xianyang flipped his palm, and a burst of golden light appeared. It stretched for tens of meters, and there were faint traces of red light flashing within it. The golden radiance condensed into a huge palm shadow, which crashed down with a loud bang. Ling Shiqi made a grasping motion in the air, and the gangwood spear appeared in his hand. He let out a low growl, and his whole body exuded an unparalleled aura of death. At the same time, strands of golden light flashed, and the gangwood spear was covered in a layer of golden scales. Ling Shiqi's power burst forth, and his feet rumbled like thunder. His entire body directly rushed towards Li Xianyang's palm shadow. Just as the spirit spear was about to collide with the palm shadow, a dazzling golden cross suddenly flashed in the air, instantly tearing apart the palm shadow. Golden cross spear. Ling Shiqi used Byakugan to see through the flaw in Li Xianyang's attack and easily neutralized it. Li Xianyang formed a fist seal with his hands, and golden spirit chi continuously surged. He blasted out with Vajra suppressing the world. Ling Shiqi, however, pointed a finger at Li Xianyang, and a crimson beam of light shot out. The thunderclap blood heavenly finger had an extremely strong penetrative power, and it pierced through Li Xianyang's Vajra fist with a single point. The remaining finger energy continued to shoot toward Li Xianyang. The golden radiance around Li Xianyang's body shrank, forming a light golden armor that blocked the remaining thunderclap blood heavenly finger. But at the same time, it also meant that he no longer had the initiative. Ling Shiqi's hands turned into two ghost claws. Demonic chi surged behind him, and a demonic dragon vaguely soared out. The demonic dragon soared into the sky, and two demonic claws tore through the night sky. This was Ling Shiqi's fusion of Ghost Jade Claw, Earth Fiend Demon Shadow Claw, and Wu Xiang's third stage spiritual technique, Dragon Capturing Claw, was the result of this fusion. Li Xianyang's expression changed drastically. He roared, and the blood-red radiance on his body grew even brighter. His face turned even paler. He raised his palms to the sky. This was the beginning of his signature technique, the glorious sun mystic sun palm. Then, a golden sun appeared, suppressing the demonic aura, and melting the two demonic dragon claws. However, the golden sun also disappeared. At this time, Ling Shiqi unsheathed his inky jade sword. Hundreds of icy blue sword energy shot out, instantly drowning Li Xianyang. Li Xianyang immediately recognized the inky jade sword. He exclaimed, "You're Lu Xingji." The mid-stage spirit vein realm brat he'd always looked down on actually had such terrifying strength. He'd hidden his strength well. Li Xianyang knew that if this continued, he'd definitely die. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to run. As a result, Li Xianyang simply stopped blocking the frost sword chi. He allowed the sword chi to hit his spirit armor while he took out a flying knife. This throwing knife was golden all over. Li Xianyang poured all of his spiritual power and blood energy into it, and it was immediately dyed red. The throwing knife shot out, but it wasn't aimed at Ling Shiqi. Instead, it was aimed at the tornado of ice and fire that surrounded them. The throwing knife was as fast as lightning. It instantly tore a large hole in the tornado of ice and fire. Li Xianyang turned into a blood-red radiance and shot out. Ling Shiqi didn't panic. He only took a light step forward, and his body appeared 30 meters away. His figure was like a ghost from the netherworld. It looked like he was drifting, but in reality, he was as fast as lightning. This was the combination of ghost parade, fluttering steps, and spring-stepping flash. It was a body movement that combined both lightness and movement, ghost steps of nether spring. Li Xianyang burned his essence and blood fast, but Ling Shiqi was faster. He felt that Ling Shiqi was still behind him, and a look of desperation appeared on his face. He knew that with his old body, even if he burned his essence and blood, he couldn't hold on for long. If he kept running like this, he would run out of essence and blood and die first. Instead of dying slowly, it was better to fight desperately. Maybe there was a chance of survival. Li Xianyang gritted his teeth and took out a palm-sized bright crystal. It was the first Origin 9 Apertures crystal. This was the key to his promotion to Gang's spirit realm, and he had risked countless dangers to get it. Now he had no time to think about the future. He planned to refine the first Origin 9 Apertures crystal directly. Although it would waste most of its power, it could help him recover a lot of spiritual power in a short time. With enough spiritual power, he naturally had the capital to escape. However, at this moment, Ling Shiqi, who was 30 meters away from him, suddenly flashed a silver light. His figure actually crossed the 30 meters and came to Li Xianyang in an instant. At this moment, Ling Shiqi was holding the green rain saber. All his spiritual power, qi and blood, devil qi, monster qi, and even his spiritual power and the will to kill Li Xianyang were gathered on the green rain saber. The green rain saber trembled in the scabbard and made a sound. After that, a chilly blade light flashed like a white horse, and it vanished in an instant. Li Xianyang's body was split into two in an instant. Chapter 334. The ephemeral epiphyllum split Li Xianyang in half, but strangely, not a single drop of blood flowed out. Li Xianyang had been burning his own essence blood, so there wasn't much blood left in his body. Ling Shiqi's blade that was infused with 9 leaves demonic qi became even more demonic as it was able to absorb Li Xianyang's blood. However, Ling Shiqi's current state wasn't very good. All of his statuses had disappeared, and his aura was constantly falling. Fortunately, he had absorbed part of Li Xianyang's remnant soul's power, which could be considered as replenishing some of his spiritual power and blood. Then, he quickly swallowed a few pills to recover his spiritual power and blood, and finally felt a bit better. Just as he was about to wipe the corpse, the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal that had fallen to the ground broke in half with a "caw" sound. It turned out that Ling Shiqi's blade had also broken the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal. Ling Shiqi was shocked. This was an extremely precious treasure. It would be a pity to destroy it just like that. However, 9 Leaves shouted, "Silly boy, why aren't you absorbing the power of the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal?" Ling Shiqi focused his eyes and saw that the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal was currently overflowing with a large amount of pure and majestic power. He quickly took the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal in his hand, and then quickly used his cultivation method to absorb and refine the power. He could immediately feel that the spiritual power in his body had clearly increased by a bit. In just a breath's time, it was equivalent to a day of bitter cultivation. Just how pure was the energy contained in it? No wonder Li Xianyang, a sect leader, wanted it even in his dreams. However, Ling Shiqi secretly felt that it was a pity. This first Origin 9 Aperture crystal was a treasure that could only be refined at the late stage of the Spirit Aperture realm. Even though he had already absorbed it with all his might, a lot of the power was still wasted. At this moment, 9 Leaves' voice sounded again, "Ling Shiqi, I can help you collect the power of the first Origin 9 Aperture crystal and not let it overflow. However, I want to absorb 60% of the power." Ling Shiqi only thought for a moment before agreeing. If he had to absorb and refine it himself, he probably wouldn't even be able to absorb 30%. According to 9 Leaf, he could absorb 40%, which was already a great profit. Following that, 9 Leaves' soul body appeared. Her 10 fingers linked together to weave a green cocoon around her. Sure enough, the power emitted by the first Origin 9 aperture crystal was unable to escape the green silkworm cocoon. Next, Ling Shiqi and Nine Leaf began to absorb the power of the first Origin 9 aperture crystal. After half an incense stick's worth of time, Ling Shiqi's aura suddenly surged. 7th level of the spiritual pulse realm. The bottleneck from the 6th level to the 7th level of the spirit pulse realm was not small. Ling Shiqi had been prepared to be stuck at the peak of the 6th level for a long time, but now, he had easily broken through. Not only that, but his spiritual power was also increasing at a rapid pace. With the passage of time, Ling Shiqi's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the spiritual pulse realm. He had even reached the peak of the 8th level. As long as he continued, he would be able to break through to the 9th level of the spirit vein stage. Unfortunately, just as he was about to break through to the 9th level, the power of the first Origin 9 aperture crystal was exhausted. Ling Shiqi sighed slightly, but after thinking about it, it was already a great opportunity for his cultivation to soar from the 6th level to the 8th level overnight. He was satisfied. Nine Leaf also absorbed the other power. At this moment, her soul body looked more solid. She looked at Ling Shiqi and said, "You didn't break through to the 9th level of the spirit vein stage. Are you a bit unwilling?" Ling Shiqi's thoughts turned quickly. Nine Leaves' words seemed to have a deeper meaning. He nodded and said, "Senior is really insightful." Nine Leaves smiled and said, "I'm in a good mood now, so I can remind you of something for free. Don't forget that there's still a little thing in your heart." Little thing. Hearing this, Ling Shiqi immediately remembered that there was indeed a mind control goo in his body. When Li Xianyang planted the mind control goo in him, he said that this goo worm was equivalent to a rank 6 treasure. Although it was half dead now, it did contain a lot of power. Ling Shiqi had also studied the mind control goo before. In fact, this mind control goo was a parasite in a person's heart. It constantly released illusions to affect the mind and thoughts of the person affected. Ling Shiqi closed his eyes again and began to refine the mind control goo. This time, he used the 5-god flowing light art. In terms of illusions, how could a small goo worm compare to the 5-god flowing light art? Ling Shiqi's body flashed with 5-colored light as he successfully refined the mind control goo without any obstruction. About an hour later, his body was covered in 5-colored light. His cultivation was already at the 9th level of the spirit vein stage. Ling Shiqi opened his eyes. 2 rays of 5-colored light suddenly burst out and then dissipated. He felt the majestic spirit force in his body and couldn't help but feel a bit high-spirited. In one night, his cultivation jumped from the 6th level of the spirit vein stage to the 9th level of the spirit vein stage. This speed was already heaven-defying. However, he quickly suppressed this thought in his heart. There were countless geniuses in the world and countless opportunities. He could encounter them, but others also had their own opportunities. He wouldn't belittle himself, but he definitely wouldn't be arrogant. With this thought, the last trace of excitement and pride in Ling Shiqi's heart disappeared and was replaced with calmness. At the same time, he also understood why many people would be lost in power and would do anything to obtain power. For example, Li Xianyang. Thinking of Li Xianyang, Ling Shiqi walked to his corpse and took his mustard seed bracelet. Not only did this mustard seed bracelet contain a large amount of resources, but the space inside was also several times larger than Ling Shiqi's mustard seed bag. He simply wore the mustard seed bracelet on his wrist. Nine Leaves' soul body glanced at the mustard seed bracelet on his wrist. Ling Shiqi's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. He secretly thought to himself, Nine Leaf wouldn't still be eyeing the resources in the mustard seed bracelet, right? Nine Leaves' eyes turned and he smiled. Ling Shiqi, do you think Li Xuanyang's palm technique is powerful? Ling Shiqi couldn't guess Nine Leaves' intentions. He said, Li Xuanyang's glorious sun mystic palm is a peak level 5 spiritual technique and his famous consummate technique. It's naturally very powerful. That's right. In fact, this glorious sun mystic palm is just one of the spiritual techniques attached to the golden mystic yang technique. Senior seems to know this technique. Ling Shiqi couldn't help but be a little puzzled. Nine Leaf explained, my cultivation has recovered a lot and my soul power has also increased. After Li Xianyang died, I swallowed a part of his soul and extracted this technique. Ling Shiqi's eyes widened. He seemed to know what Nine Leaf was going to say. Nine Leaf's lips curled into a smile. I can give you the technique, but I want all the resources in this mustard seed bag. Chapter 335. Hearing Nine Leaf's words, Ling Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that Nine Leaf had been eyeing Li Xuanyang's resources. Of course, he wanted Li Xuanyang's cultivation methods and spirit techniques. Although there weren't many cultivation resources in the mustard seed bracelet, they were all top quality. If he could consume these resources, his cultivation and strength would rise to another level. However, these resources were still inferior to Li Xuanyang's golden mystic yang art and more than one rank 5 spirit technique. After all, cultivation methods and spirit techniques were the foundation of a spirit cultivator. Ling Shiqi gritted his teeth and said, okay. Nine Leaf chuckled and wrote the golden mystic yang art's mantra in the air. Then, she asked Ling Shiqi to release her body. Ling Shiqi did as he was told and poured out all the resources in the mustard seed bracelet. Nine Leaf's soul and body became one. She opened her mouth and swallowed all the resources like a whale swallowing mountains and rivers. And, not bad. Nine Leaf nodded in satisfaction and said, okay, Li Xianyang is dead. Destroying the profound yang sect shouldn't be difficult for you. I'll go out for a walk. After a while, I'll come and find you for the remaining resources. Ling Shiqi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He didn't expect Nine Leaf to be so confident in him destroying the profound yang sect. Then, without waiting for Ling Shiqi's reply, Nine Leaf turned into a purple light and disappeared into the night. However, Ling Shiqi had a feeling that Nine Leaf would cause trouble sooner or later. AI, forget it. Let's not care about her. Ling Shiqi shook his head slightly. Then, he used the ghost spring steps and rushed to Mist City. While rushing, he was thinking about how to destroy the profound yang sect. Currently, the profound yang sect still had Li Feizhou, the spirit aperture realm great elder. In addition, he also had 4 spirit pulse realm direct disciples. These 5 people were the biggest threat. In addition, there were more than 30 spirit transformation realm and 1 to 200 spirit assembly realm and pure spirit realm disciples. These people were nothing to be afraid of, but there were so many of them that they might run away. If he didn't remove the roots, there would be endless trouble in the future. Therefore, Ling Shiqi had 2 urgent matters to solve. First, who would deal with Li Feizhou? Regarding this point, Ling Shiqi's original plan was to ask Sun Gang to make a move. He had used the first Origin 9 aperture crystal as a reward to get Sun Gang to attack Li Xianyang. According to the original plan, he had not intended to keep the first Origin 9 aperture crystal for himself. He really intended to give it to Sun Gang. So he to ask Sun Gang to deal with Li Feizhou, Sun to deal with him. After all, Li Tu's to make to S to him to do. To Ling Shiqi's Tu's to, that was to be's to Li Sun. Now, Ling Shiqi had 2 choices. He could either mobilize the silver-striped Blood Cloak assassins from the Blood Cloak Pavilion, or he could fight Li Feizhou himself. If Ling Shiqi wanted to assassinate Xianyang sect secretly, it would be best to hire the silver-striped blood-red cloak assassins. After all, that was what they were best at. However, Ling Shiqi wanted to wipe out Xianyang's sect openly. Only by doing so could he make the most contribution and spread his name far and wide. Therefore, he could only do it himself. Now that Ling Shiqi's cultivation had climbed to the 9th level of the Spirit Pulse realm, if he were to activate all his powers, he would indeed have the strength of an early-stage Spirit Aperture realm cultivator. However, he only had strength and didn't have the characteristics of a Spirit Aperture realm cultivator. Therefore, if he wanted to fight Li Feizhou, he had to weaken Li Feizhou's strength before that. Moreover, he didn't need to kill Li Feizhou. As long as he could delay him, his subordinates would quickly kill the other disciples of Xianyang's sect, and then surround Li Feizhou. As for Li Feizhou, he temporarily thought of this. There was another problem if he wanted to destroy Xianyang's sect, and that was to have a large amount of manpower. He had around 80 Dark Lightning Guards under him, and all of them were at the Spirit Transformation realm. They were the elites of the elites. Killing the disciples of Xianyang's sect wasn't a problem, but their weakness was obvious. They didn't have a lot of people. Even with the dozens of reserve members in Dark Lightning Manor, they only had around 100 people. It was still far from enough to completely destroy Xianyang's sect. As for the 6 great families, there were around 60 people in total, which was barely enough. However, in order to be absolutely sure, Ling Shiqi decided to look for someone. It was someone he had met once before, and that was the deputy commander of Lan Chi City's city guards, Ning Xiu. The commander of the city guards, Su Ji, had been missing for a few days, and Sun Gang had secretly come to Ai Ming Mountain under the pretext of investigating. Now, all of Lan Chi City's affairs were managed by Ning Xiu, and he could be said to be proud of himself. Ling Shiqi guessed that Sun Gang would definitely put on a show and wouldn't return to Lan Chi City for the next 2 days. He wanted to persuade Ning Xiu to send a portion of the city guards to assist him in attacking Xianyang's sect before Sun Gang returned. Thus, he hurried through the night and finally returned to Lan Chi City at noon the next day. He had been using the Netherworld Ghost Steps to hasten his journey. Even though he was at the 9th level of the Spirit Pulse realm, he still couldn't take it. First, he confirmed that Ning Xiu was indeed in the city lord's manor. Then, he rested for a while before going to look for Ning Xiu. When Ning Xiu found out that Ling Shiqi, the supervisor of Dark Lightning Manor, was looking for him, he was a little surprised. However, in terms of status, Ling Shiqi was 1 level higher than him, so he had to treat Ling Shiqi warmly. However, Ling Shiqi didn't have time to pretend with him. He directly took out the supervisor's token and ordered, "I want to destroy Xianyang's sect, which colluded with other countries and committed a heinous crime. Now, I need the city lord's manor to mobilize the city guards to assist me." Ling Shiqi's short sentence set off a huge wave in Ning Xiu's heart. Did he hear wrongly? Destroy the third-rate Xianyang sect. However, when he saw Ling Shiqi's supervisor's token, he couldn't say a word. According to the rules of the Thunderflame dynasty, the Dark Lightning Guards could indeed mobilize the city guards in an emergency. However, this kind of thing had to be decided by the city lord himself. However, Sun Gang wasn't here, so he didn't dare to make this decision. Ling Shiqi saw that Ning Xiu was hesitating and immediately snorted, "Humph, is Deputy Commander Ning going to defy my order?" Ning Xiu shook his head repeatedly, "Lord Lu, this is a serious matter. City Lord Sun isn't in the city right now, so I really can't make this decision." "How dare you!" Ling Shiqi shouted angrily, "The Xianyang sect's traitors could escape at any time. If Deputy Commander Ning is unwilling to cooperate with me and the traitors escape, can you bear this kind of crime?" Ning Xiu immediately trembled. Of course, he couldn't bear it. However, mobilizing the city guards was a serious matter. If something happened, he couldn't escape punishment. He was in a dilemma. Ning Xiu wished that Sun Gang and Su Ji were both here. That way, he wouldn't have to bear this kind of heavy responsibility. However, Ling Shiqi's tone calmed down. Deputy Commander Ning, I'm not here to make things difficult for you. I'm here to give you credit. Don't worry, the Xianyang sect is like a turtle in a jar. As long as Deputy Commander Ning is willing to transfer 200 city guards to me, I can guarantee that everyone will return in one piece and will give Deputy Commander Ning a great credit. I heard that Commander Su Ji has been missing for a few days. Don't you want to remove the word deputy? You should know that I'm also a spiritual pulse realm cultivator. Commander Ning is also qualified to be a supervisor. He even emphasized the words Commander Ning. In addition, he unknowingly used an illusion to affect part of Ning Xiu's mind. When Ning Xiu heard the words, Commander Ning, from Ling Shiqi, his heart was filled with hot blood. He gritted his teeth and didn't hesitate any longer. He said, this subordinate obeys. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.